Okay, Shalom Israel. I hope everybody's doing well. Shabbat Shalom. Shout out to Word of Truth family. Shout out Stream of Wisdom family. Hope everybody's doing well today. We're going to get going into class shortly, but just want to thank everybody that tunes in and supports the channel. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your ears. And, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, serving the body and teaching and doing whatever we can to help Israel out. I guess we're going to start off with our prayers and get going on in the class, right? I think it's right there in front of you, sir.
Right there?
Yep.
No. That's my class.
No, I'm talking about this.
I got it.
Okay. Hamajim, Wapanya, Yerah Shalom.
It is, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Barak Tayi Hawah B'Hashem Yahushai.
Barak Tayi Hawah B'Hashem Yahushai.
Ahawa'ah. Nathanalah. Awar. Zayawam. Thawada.
Aman. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the light this day. Thanks. So be it.
Barak Tayi Hawah B'Hashem Yahushai.
Barak Tayi Hawah B'Hashem Yahushai.
Ahawa'ah. Nathanalah. Rayah. Nayachacha. Thawada.
Aman. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us sweet savor. Thank you. So be it.
Amajim Wapunya, Yerah Shalom.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
Barak Tayi Hawah B'Hashem Yahushai.
Barak Tayi Hawah B'Hashem Yahushai.
Ahawa'ah. Nathanalah. Hashabbat. B'Shalom. Thawada.
Aman. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you. So be it.
Okay. Psalms 121. Anasha. Ayanyamya. Hahoyim. Ma'aya. Yabu'ah. Isaiah. Yabu'ah. Yahweh, Sha'aisha, Shemaiah, Wa'aratiza, Ra'ah, Yonathan, Ramawat, Regalia, Yara'ah, Nawam, Shashamayah, Hana, Yara'ah, Nawam, Wala'ah, Yishon, Shashamamah, Yasharah, Yahweh, Shemaiah, Yahweh, Tazalia, Ayah, Yanyamya, Yad, Hashemash, Yara'ah, Hakayat, Bayawam, Wala'ah, Harabana, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashemaiah, Makol, Right, Yashemor, Napasha, Yahweh, Yashemor, Hamalakya, Wabu'ayah, Ma'atha, Wa'ai, I will love. Amen.
I will lift up my eyes into the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen.
Second. Israelite Credo. Shema Yahshua. Yahweh. Eloheinu. Yahweh. Echad. Shema Yahshua. Yahweh. Eloheinu. Yahweh. Echad. Shema Yahshua. Yahweh. Eloheinu. Yahweh. Echad.
Hear Israel. Yahweh our power. Yahweh is one.
Lord's Prayer. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shemka, Yahweh, Malak Wavka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashemayim, Nathan Lano, Lachom, Ko, Yawam, Wasalachano, Ko, Wathino, Kaslachano, Ko, Wathino, Wala'ah, Fabio. No, gonna say what? Abo, Hawashino, Mayan, Right, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Wahatha Pa'arat, Amen.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Amen. Ten Commandments. La'ah Yahayim, Laka, Alahayim, Achoyim, Ayim, Panya.
Thou shalt have no other powers before me.
Number 2. La'ah, Tha'ina, Laka, Pasal, Wala'ah, Tha'ibada.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, nor serve them.
Number 3. La'ah, Talach, Sham, Yahweh, Bashawah.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain.
4. Zakar, Hayawam, Hashabbat, La Kodashwa.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Number 5. Kabad, Abaka, Ya'amaka.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Number 6. La'ah, Taratazak.
Thou shalt not kill, murder.
Number 7. La'ah, Tana'ah.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Number 8. La'ah, Tagana.
Thou shalt not steal.
Number 9. La'ah, Ta'ina. Shakur.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Number 10. La'ah, Tachamat. Ho, Ashura, La'aika.
Thou shalt not covet anything which is thy neighbor's.
Ba'ashem Yahshai, nothing lower,
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law.
Okay. Israel Yeshavim.
Everybody see it?
Once again, Israel Shalom. Hope everybody's doing Tawab today. On this Sabbath day, this fine Sabbath day in the summer. We're going to be going into now the tail end of 2 Chronicles and the tail end of 2 Kings. We've been on a long journey in 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles and 1 Kings and 1 Chronicles, but I think it was very much worth it. This ride going into the Kings from David, Saul, all the way up to present day Josiah. I personally learned a lot in this process, and I hope you guys did too. Now we're going to start dealing with the death of Josiah. We already saw last week, we finished off at the plateau of Josiah's kingdom, and that was when they had the greatest Passover celebration since the time of Samuel. And we went into last week about all the work that Josiah went into putting the nation in order, cleansing the temple and the people from the northern kingdom that remained and the southern kingdom of all their idolatry. And even they were sitting back here. They were sitting back here kicking down doors looking for idols, man. So Josiah went above and beyond the call of duty to make sure he was able to eliminate idolatry as much as possible. We also know where good is, evil is present. And with all the good that he did, there was also that underbelly of people that kept the worshiping of Baal in their hearts. We explained that in Ezekiel chapter 14. Shabbat Shalom, everybody online. And as we go into class further today, we're going to start seeing a lot of the remaining parts of Chronicles and Kings is talked about and chronicled a lot in Jeremiah. So we're going to take that time and bounce into Jeremiah in these next few weeks to paint as clear of a picture as possible about the end. Because pretty much in a nutshell, the sons of Josiah were the last kings to rule the northern kingdom. And this pretty much chronicles the last time Israel was a sovereign, independent nation. Everything after this, we were just vassals. We would just go from vassal to other vassal, support city to another support city. So this was the last time Israel was sovereign and had our own power, own government, answered to nobody, didn't have to pay out tribute to nobody. Mm-hmm. And this thing falls apart very fast after Josiah's death. Then we're going to read about how the fact that Josiah died very early in his life. And why the Most High might have did that, we need to go into that. So, without further ado, we're going to go into, let's start off. I messed up, did all this talking. Let's go to Josephus. I should have brought my Josephus. 10, 5, and 1. Josephus, book 10, chapter 5, paragraph 1. Wow, we're going to get you saluted in, sir. 10, book 10. Did I say book 10?
Huh.
Chapter 5. There it is. 5, paragraph 1. Cry.
Karaya, Shah Shabbatah, Bana Shah, Banya Shahala.
Karaya, Shah Shabbatah, Bana Shah, Banya Shahala. And much. What? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshua B'Katah.
How about Shem Yahshua B'Katah?
Yes, B'Katah. Okay, so what we're going to do is read this first.
Antiquity of the Jews, Book 10, Chapter 5, Paragraph 1. Now Necho, king of Egypt, raised an army and marched to the river Euphrates in order to fight with the Medes and Babylonians.
Listen, King Necho is really King Necho II. He was sitting back here now. He was in position of power in Egypt. And let me I have a picture online so we can kind of start seeing things and kind of having an idea of what's happening. Assyria, before we go on to King Necho, Assyria was on the downturn of their power on earth. They were on the downturn. They didn't have the jurisdiction over Babylon anymore. If you look on the map and the screen, you'll see that Babylon started having re-control over their turf. Remember when King Manasseh was in power and he did all that wickedness, right? I think it was King Ashurbanipal. I think that was his name.
Ashurbanipal.
Ashurbanipal. That was his name. He took him down to Babylon to slavery. Remember, the king of Assyria didn't take him up to Assyria. He took king of Israel to Babylon. And the reason he took him in Babylon was because at the time, King Ashurbanipal stayed in Babylon to control the threats of the Babylonian uprising. So even by the time that King Manasseh was in power, Assyria was losing their stronghold and their grip on the entire region. Okay? If you look at the screen, At one time, the Assyrians had control over Babylon, the Median Empire, which is where Ecbatane is, all the way through the southern part of Turkey, near Antioch, and all the way down to Greece. I mean, all the way down to Egypt. They had control of that entire territory at one time. But they were losing the jurisdiction quickly. And if you got to think about this, if you're a nation, a kingdom, and a power, and you're losing power, you most of the time lose your power in your what? Extremities, your outer regions. It's hard to keep control of a vast empire the further you get away from your home country, because you can't keep dispersing out your troops, your armies.
Well,
You're overspread. So when you start getting weaker, and you notice that you're getting weaker, what do? You consolidate your army. You keep all your strength as close to the home base as possible.
yeah, that was Hitler's mistake in World War II.
Yep.
When he tried to go against the Russians in the middle of the snow.
Yeah, that was bad.
And all those tanks froze up, all the gasoline froze, and they were just
And the
stranded.
supply lines got shut down.
Supply lines got shut down, and they froze in the snow.
Mm-hmm. Listen, same thing with Napoleon.
Yeah.
Napoleon, most nations, they fall apart when they're overspread out and they can't send resources to these nations. So, on an extremely level, they couldn't control Babylon. They were just too much. They were starting to lose the control over the Median power, the Media, the country of Media or Madai. They were losing control over that, as well as they didn't have a strong control and jurisdiction over Egypt at the time. If you sit back here, this kind of shows it, but Egypt was starting to be a world power again, and the Egyptians were starting to put their money into the shipping industry. They were starting to sit back here and getting into the trade, and they were running their waters and their trading through the Red Sea, and they had aspirations to gain control even further north through Tyre and Zidon. This is very important for us to understand what's happening in the world at the time, because now Egypt is trying to sit back and extend their reach into shipping. That was where the power was into. This is why the Tyrians, Zidonians have so much power and control for such a long time.
That power is still relevant now when it comes to shipping and receiving, import, export.
Yep.
You look at Russia; they got a grip on the grain of the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can weaponize the grain, shut everybody down.
Yep, and which they did. They sat back here and destroyed Ukraine's grain. So their money is completely messed up. So now Ukrainians just sit back here. They're stuck with just sending mad drone bombers everywhere to think they can kind of get some kind of because they're not winning on the battlefield. They're just going to sit back and just keep shooting suicide drone bombers into all the different shipping ports and different cities of Russia. But anyway, what's my point? Time of King Necho, the time of the Babylonian ascension now. The Assyrians are descending, but nothing has finalized yet. Egypt is on the rise. They're starting to control shipping ports. They have control over certain lands in the Philistine Empire. Tyre, they're starting to gain control over there also. Why is that important? Because Egypt is becoming a threat in 609 BC. But they are allied with the Assyrians, because for some reason the Assyrians must have gave them a sweetheart deal and let them know, hey, if you work with us together can take out these upstart Babylonians and these upstart Medes from the east. So if we band together, you can imagine, I will give you a sweet deal and give you the southern part of these countries. The Levant. Does anybody know what the Levant is? It's the Middle East Egypt, the Middle East region. The Levant is Israel, Philistia, Tyre and Zidon, Syria. That's the Levant, even to like in Napoleon's day they called it the Levant. That's the whole Middle Eastern region. I can't say I was there, but why else would the Egyptian Empire come up here and try to ally themselves with the Assyrians during the Battle of Carchemish? Because that's what's happening right now. What you're not getting is what's happening on a global level. All we're hearing about is King Necho is trying to walk through or march his troops through the Via Maris, which was that trade route that was used from the beginning of time for a long time. You're going to read that King Necho sends an embassage to King Josiah. He said, listen, man, I'm just moving my troops past you. We ain't trying to beef with you. We're going to sit back here and fight up in Carchemish. So us and the Assyrians are going to sit back here and eradicate this Babylonian Empire problem. Because these guys, this is getting too much. We got to squash these guys as soon as possible. So this is the thinking that King Necho is trying to, was in his head. I got to sit back and align myself with these Assyrians for my preservation and for my further global expansion. You can just look at the map. As long as Assyria maintained parts of Turkey all the way down through Babylon, I think they take that deal as long as they can keep that. I don't think they was going to be tripping too much on Syria and Levant. Okay? That's important because we have to make sure I take as much time to paint that picture. So, from the top, Josephus, Book 10, Chapter 5, Paragraph 1.
Antiquity of Jews, Book 10, Chapter 5, and Paragraph 1.
Levant, let's hold on a second. I'm just going to type this in.
What does that mean?
It's a region.
So it just means the region.
Yes, that's what it is. The Levant is a region. Levant. And that whole is that Middle East region. So, read that from the top, sir.
Now Necho, king of Egypt, raised an army and marched to the river Euphrates in order to fight with the Medes and Babylonians, who had overthrown the dominion of the Assyrians.
So, it's explaining the same thing. There's war, there's fighting. The Medes and the Babylonians have joined together in war against the Assyrians. The Assyrians need help. They've reached out to the Egyptians for the help. Now, you know King Necho's not doing this just for the love of the brotherhood. He wants something out the damn deal. More than likely, it's land territory, it's freedom, it's power. This is the last, what you're going to find out down the line, that this King Necho, this situation was the last hurrah for the Egyptian empire in their aspirations for like global world domination. This was their last shot. Okay, so let's continue.
For he had a desire to reign over Asia. Now when he was come to
there
the
you
city,
go. It says King Necho had a desire to reign over Asia. We understand Asia is that like Asia Minor area. We're not talking about China and Indochina and all that stuff. Asia back then is still that Levant area. Even when the Roman Empire had taken over our people, our area was still referred to as Asia. Okay, I don't know if y'all knew that. But our land area where we were at in Israel was referred to as Asia. So let's keep going.
Now when he was come to the city, Mendes, which belonged to the kingdom of Josiah, he brought an army to hinder him from passing through his own country in his expedition against the Medes.
Now listen, if you sit back here and look at it, because I've read this before and it just didn't make sense. Why the hell would King Josiah start such a damn problem and not let King Necho pass through the Via Maris to get to the land of Carchemish for this battle? What does Necho have to do with this man's territory? I never understood it. And King Necho said, listen, I'm not here to fight with you. I'm not here to go to war with you. I'm not here to start beef. I just need to get to Carchemish to fight these Babylonians. Okay? So this is, what's that?
Where is he passing through? Was he trying to pass through?
Well, it was a city. This said Mendes. The scripture says a little different, but it's right above Israel. It's pretty much the Via Maris. The Via Maris is that road that runs through. I've showed it on other classes in the past. That road along the coast of the Philistine countries. Well, then it rode on top and through Jerusalem or Israel, not Jerusalem, Israel. It went through Israel.
Was it through Gaza?
I can't give you the exact
I'm sorry.
off the top of my head, but it's through Israel, and Josiah is taking it as a threat. He's taking it like there's a problem if they make this expedition. But it doesn't really go into the why. But understanding the world and how the world was operating, you kind of start piecing together the why. Think about it. Think about why would Josiah not want? I had it up there on purpose. The map is up on purpose. But the question is this. Why would King Josiah not want King Necho to get to Carchemish?
And strength.
He'll have a northern vantage point above him. He'll sit above him, and they'll have Egypt on their southern flank.
Well, I'm talking about from Israel's perspective, not necessarily for the war that they're having up there in Babylon. Why would that be a threat to Israel? Does anybody know?
They gain more power.
Who gains more power?
King Necho. King Necho.
Somebody's going to gain power regardless. Why the issue? Why did he choose? Listen, him sitting back here and not letting King Necho of Egypt get to Carchemish is saying that he wanted Babylon to win. Why would he prefer Babylon to win?
Better ties. Better relationship.
I mean, I would sit back and think of it as I'd rather have Babylon win too. If Egypt wins and Egypt and Assyria win, then I got to deal with Egypt right here on my head forever. I got to deal with Egypt sitting back here and giving me problems. And that southern border that's up under me. That would be more of a threat than the Babylonian kingdom X amount of thousands of miles away from me. Get my point? It's a less of a strategic threat. But if I got Egypt and they're already taking control over the district, I can only put two and two together that they'll have Syria soon. So if Egypt takes Syria, Egypt already has Philistia, and Tyre and Sidon. Now Israel is surrounded by King Necho and his people. Mm-hmm. So this is why he's sitting back here and saying, you know what? I gotta impede this from happening. So Josiah's like, I'm gonna slow him up. So if I slow them up and they can't make it up there in time, the Assyrians are going to lose anyway. And then I might get some favorable points from the king of Babylon if I stop that. If I stop the Egyptian empire from coming in here and helping the Assyrians, it makes the Babylonians' life easier. Maybe they'll sit back here and give me some space and not bother me, but I squash that Egyptian threat. Because obviously Josiah realized that the Egyptians were getting stronger and they were a problem. That's the only other reason I can sit back and see when he would get in the way of any of this business. It just didn't make sense. Why would he get in the way of any business with these other nations? It had nothing to do with him. And Necho meant no war and no harm at the time. But those things changed. So he made a military decision. It ended up working, but he ended up losing out the deal too. Listen, the intention worked. The Assyrians didn't get the help from the Egyptians in time. Necho didn't make it up there in time. And the Assyrians got smashed. So that was a problem. But hell, Israel had to sit back and feel the brunt of that also. So let's with that in mind, let's continue. Read paragraph 1 again.
God. Now Necho, king of Egypt, raised an army and marched to the river Euphrates in order to fight with the Medes and Babylonians, who had overthrown the dominion of the Assyrians. For he had a desire to reign over Asia. Now when he was come to the city of Mendes, which belonged to the kingdom of Josiah, he brought an army to hinder him from passing through his own country in his expedition against the Medes. Now Necho sent an herald to Josiah and told him that he had not made this expedition against him, but was making haste to Euphrates, and desired that he would not provoke him to fight against him, because he obstructed his march to the place whither he had resolved to go. But Josiah did not admit of this advice of Necho, but put himself into a posture to hinder him from his intended march. I suppose it was fate that pushed him on this conduct, that it might take an occasion against him. For as he was setting his army in array, and rode about in his chariot from one wing of his army to another, one of the Egyptians shot an arrow at him and put an end to his eagerness for fighting.
Oh, but so listen, wherever that arrow shot, he said, "Man, I'm done with this war, man. Let's get out of here, man." He got the hell out of here. Right? That arrow hit him in a bad spot. I think that area where they fought was Megiddo. I don't know why it says Mendes here. The scripture says Megiddo. We're going to go into it and find it. But this arrow hit him, and all of a sudden he didn't want to fight no more. He realized, man, I don't want to do this no. What am I doing this for, man? I was supposed to sit back and eliminate idols out of Israel. I'm sitting back getting in fights I ain't really supposed to be in. But let's keep going.
It says, for being sorely wounded, he commanded a retreat to be sounded for his army, and returned to Jerusalem, and died of that wound.
Wow.
And was magnificent, buried in a sepulchre of his fathers when he had lived 39 years.
It was only 39 years, bro. Most I cut him short like he cut Ezekiel short. He was going to cut Ezekiel short at 39. I mean, Hezekiah. He was going to cut Hezekiah short at 39, but he gave him 15 more years. He definitely cut Josiah short at 39 years. Remember, the prophecy was said that Josiah was supposed to die in peace. It wasn't he died out bloody. He died out bloody. We're going to kind of go into why maybe the Most High did this, but he didn't die. He didn't go down in gray hair and in peace. He went down in violence. We're done.
And of them had reigned 31. But all the people mourned greatly for him, lamenting and grieving on his account many days. And Jeremiah the prophet composed an elegy to lament him, which is extant till this time also. Moreover, this prophet denounced beforehand the sad calamities that were coming upon the city. He also left behind him writing a description of that destruction of our nation, which was lately happened in our days, and the taking of Babylon. Nor was he the only prophet who delivered such predictions beforehand to the multitude, but so did Ezekiel also, who was the first person that wrote and left behind him in writing 2 books concerning these events.
So that's crazy. I didn't even know that. So Ezekiel wrote prophecies before he even got shipped out. Before Ezekiel. Before Jeremiah. Read on.
Now these 2 prophets were priests by birth, but of them Jeremiah dwelt in Jerusalem from the 13th year of the reign of Josiah until the city and temple were utterly destroyed. However, was to what befell this prophet, we will relate it in its proper place.
So we're going to hold that. Now we're going to go to, I'm going to read the BKC real quick, which is the Bible Knowledge Commentary, and give a little bit more clarity on the scenario. By the year 609 BC, Assyria had become so weak that she lost practically all her empire, especially to the Babylonians. Nineveh had fallen in 612, so the Assyrians had concentrated all their forces around Haran and Carchemish in the upper Euphrates River. The Babylonians decided to advance against them to destroy them once and for all. But Egypt, more fearful of Babylonia than Assyria, launched an attack through Palestine with the idea of coming to Assyria's assistance at Carchemish. Josiah, in the meantime, favored the Babylonians and therefore set out to intercept the Egyptians under Pharaoh Necho and prevent them from getting to Carchemish. Necho tried his best to dissuade Josiah from this course of action, arguing that the Most High was with him, Necho, in his mission and would destroy Josiah if he didn't back off. Necho had indeed received such instructions from the Lord power, but Josiah intervened anyway, and despite disguising himself like Ahab, was fatally wounded on the battlefield of Megiddo. Now I can't prove that he disguised himself in war, so I want to make sure I make that clear. The scripture don't say that, so I can't say, or I might have missed it when I was reading. But he died, and he got wounded in the battlefield at Megiddo, and on the screen shows you where Megiddo was, and how it's crazy because they weren't even really walking or going. This is at Via Mars Pathway. They really weren't even going into major territory of the Northern Kingdom. They were just going. They were in and they were out. But Necho sat back here and did with not Necho, but Josiah had to get in the way and make this situation more difficult than what it really was. Okay,
You need a verse on that too.
go for it.
Proverbs chapter 26, verse 17.
Hold on a second. Proverbs 26. And 17 is a great verse. Proverbs 26 and 17.
Proverbs chapter 26 and verse 17.
Read that.
He that passeth by,
It said he that does what?
passeth by.
So you passing by, you stopping Necho, the Egyptian king, from getting up to Carchemish. Read on.
And meddleth with strife, belonging not to him.
That had nothing to do with him. That battle was between the Assyrians, the Egyptians, and the Babylonians. Read on.
Is like one that taketh a dog by the ears.
What happens when you grab a dog by the ear?
He's gonna bite you. He's gotta bite you.
They don't like that.
Or that, or flanking.
Yeah.
Don't flank a dog either. Don't get him in his hind part, right in the inner thigh area. You will get bit. Y'all don't know if y'all knew that. If you grab a dog in his hinder part, his back hind, and you grab him hard out, you will get bit at. When dog trainers attack trained dogs, that's the spot they grab them. And they sit back and keep grabbing them, and they get them angry. And they get them really angry, and they say, get him, get him, get him. And they train them with that. It's like that Pavlov stuff. They grab them in these jacked up places. They get turned up, and then they say words that reminds them of them getting flanked in the legs and in the hinder part. So grab them in the ears. I never tried that, nor would I ever want to. No, bro. I'm not getting bit in the nose and the face. No bueno. But keep going. I'm sorry.
No, it's the truth. You know, those are sensitive spots. Obviously, the ears, nobody like to be grabbed by the ears.
Hell no.
Even as a kid, your grandma will grab you by the ears.
Yeah, I feel good.
Don't feel good. I twist your ear up. Read on.
As a madman who casteth fire.
No,
brands.
read up verse again.
Come. He that passeth by and meddleth with strife, belonging not to him, is like one that taketh a dog by the ears.
Yeah, that's not your business. Read Ecclesiastes 11 and 10. Ecclesiastes in the Apocrypha, chapter 11, verse 10. Read that.
Come.
Let's type this down. Ecclesiasticus. The Apocrypha.
Read
11
that.
and 10.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 11 and verse 10. My son, meddle not with many matters.
It said, meddle not with what?
Many matters.
You in somebody else's business. When you're involved in somebody else's business, read on. That's not your business. Read on.
For if thou meddle much, thou shalt not be innocent.
What if you love the Most High and you destroy altars? And you sit back here, you do a bunch of good works. You're still in the trick bag when you get in the way of people's situations.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing good and you're on point and you lived a righteous life. Keep going.
There's certain things that just not pertaining to you. Read on.
And if thou follow after,
Go ahead.
thou shalt not obtain,
Yeah, go ahead.
neither shalt thou escape by fleeing.
And that's exactly what happened to Josiah. Josiah tried to run off after he got hit with that arrow, and he was still guilty and he got wounded.
Yeah.
Because he was involving himself in somebody else's business.
Yep.
That's an expensive lesson to pay when you're dealing and involving yourself in business that are not yours.
Israel just sped up and falling apart.
Yeah,
They sped up.
He shut his life down at 39. Man, he's in the prime of his strength and his rulership.
And this happened also on a current event level. This brother that some dude was arguing with this woman because she cheated on him and he went crazy in the Walmart. when some random guy started coming up and trying to, handle this guy because he was flipping out in Walmart. The dude took his anger out, pulled a gun out, and just killed the innocent guy.
But was he innocent?
No?
According to scripture, he's not.
That's crazy.
He meddled in some business.
This quote unquote good Samaritan not want to get in the way.
That's what happened.
That's crazy, bro.
I'm saying, I'm agreeing with Sean Swan's point, bro.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. You let that go.
Any more?
No, that's it.
That was perfect. Let's so where were we at? Where did we just finish up? We finished at BKC, right?
That's crazy, bro.
So he got in the way. He got in the way of some business he wasn't supposed to get in, and he suffered the consequences of it. Unfortunately. Let's go to 2 Kings, chapter 23, verse 26 through 37.
God.
23, verse 26 through 37. Read on.
2 Kings chapter 23 and verse 26. Notwithstanding, the Most High turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal.
It's a little deeper. He says, with all the good that was done, and what we read out before was when he had the Passover. That's what verse 23 was about. The Passover and the removing of idols is what we just read about earlier in the chapter. But verse 26 is saying, listen, even though all that good work happened under Josiah's watch, the Most High was not going to let Israel off the hook, Judah in particular, off the hook that easily. He said, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked with him. My question is, was it just King Manasseh's provocations, or was it what King Manasseh's provocations bred and fed amongst the priests, the people, and the princes of the nation?
He embedded a culture.
He embedded a culture that was still there. It wasn't just the guy. It was the effect of what that man's actions did. He spoiled the bunch rotten. King Manasseh's wickedness spoiled the bunch rotten. It's a reminder to us as Israelite people that whether you are a general, an officer, a captain, a soldier, a husband, your example matters. And your example can affect people on a highly negative level. And it's so important that we fight our tail off to make sure we're not a bad example to our people. Because our example can trickle down to other people. And then their example can trickle down on other people. We have to do our best to make sure our example establishes a culture of doing things the right way. If not, your negative is going to be the reason why another person falls. When you read about that stumbling block, you don't want to be a person's stumbling block. You don't want to be a reason. You don't want to be the reason why another person is justified in committing sin. Because that's really what Manasseh did. His sin justified everybody else's sin. The negative he was dabbling in justified other people to say, you know what, I should dabble in negative too. Now, my negative might be different than his negative, but if he was able to be negative and get away with it, why can't I be negative and get away with it? That is why the Moses said, you know what, even though Josiah did all this work and gave his 31 years to eradicating this sin, it still didn't change that negative root that was in Israel. And it wasn't 31 years. It was I would say from 20 to 39, so 19 years of eradicating wickedness.
And it shows the dynamic of good versus evil. It shows that good can outweigh evil at times, and also evil can outweigh good.
But
It matters what influential power is in place.
Yes.
This is why when you look at Esau society, they love to use the most elite, the ones who have the most elite status, as co-signers for negative.
Yep.
You know, they try to get people in political positions that are actors, that are sports authorities, sports figures. These are individuals that carry some type of notoriety and some type of esteem amongst our people, and they like to co-sign them with their political agenda. You know, well, LeBron is doing it. Jordan co-signs it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Shaq is in agreement with it.
Yep.
You know, Charles Barkley said it was okay. What's your problem? What do you have to say about it? You know what I'm saying? So they use figures that we look up to against us, whether it be hip-hop heads,
Yep.
artists, musicians, athletes. They'll use anybody that has any type of esteem against us and say, well, he co-signed it.
Listen, Shaq and the Fool, and what's his name? And Charles Barkley are clowns.
Yeah, court jesters.
They're court jesters on television, and they're interviewed on serious political matters.
Right.
They'll sit back and interview Chuck on some serious political shit.
We saw what happened with the Kyrie Irving situation when they said, you know, Charles Barkley called him a fool, and they called him
He's a fool.
You called him ungrateful.
Yep.
You're ungrateful that your owner gave you a job. You should be committed to your owner giving you a job.
Yeah.
You shouldn't stand up for your religion,
Yeah.
for what you believe in, or even for the fact that you don't believe in a shot, or you don't believe in wearing certain things. You know, so you can't push a narrative that promotes your people. So he said you should be grateful that they gave you a job. That's what they said.
Yeah.
But they'll promote that mentality because they know for a Caucasian face to say it'll be wrong. So they'll use our own people against us.
Shaq is a corporate shield.
Yeah.
You put him on Papa John's, anything this nigga gonna be on it. He would anything for $1. He's a corporate shield.
Quiet down the controversy amongst our people.
Magic. You ever notice every sports team that's being purchased, they just throw the token nigga in there. He's part of the group. Yeah. Magic's part of the group. It's okay.
Yep.
You ever see that? When the Dodgers were being bought, we'll throw Magic in there. He'll be like a 2% owner. He's part of the group. It gets sold. The Washington Commanders get sold. We're gonna throw Magic in there. Like, what's going on here? Right? He'll get 1.5%, and it goes through. It's the token shit, right? Because he's smiling all them day long, right?
I saw him smile at me. Listen, bro. That smile, it makes you feel good. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
And then when he say me and Cookie, his wife, yeah, me and Cookie want to endorse this.
Oh man! All of a sudden,
Yeah.
Oh my! Listen, I'm not gonna lie. He was the only black guy that was able to bring coffee to the black community in California. I'm not lying to you. Before Magic did it, niggas was not drinking Starbucks. I promise you. I was gone from Cali for years. I went back to visit, and all of a sudden, it was Magic's Theater, and it was Magic Starbucks, and all of a sudden, niggas was drinking coffee. I'm like, how did he do it? How did he get black people to drink coffee? This nigga said Magic on that?
Magic.
It was Magic's TGI Fridays. Then niggas want to eat like Applebee's and shit all of a sudden. They want to eat TGI Fridays because it was Magic's. How did he do it?
Theaters are booming out.
Theaters, the TGI Fridays, they're probably faded out, but coffee he brought coffee into the hood. Anyway, what are we saying? It's still corporate shilling out. It's still cooning for the white man. But when you get deals like that, you got to back them. Because listen, after Papa John's had the issue with the owner, they had to bring him in there.
Who?
Papa John's, the owner of Papa John's. They're talking about niggas.
No, they brought Shaq
They
in.
brought Shaq and Papa John's.
Yeah.
But it's going to be Magic or Shaq. Shaq's it takes the lower level endorsements. Magic just does the big endorsements, the big deals.
Man.
That's what you got to have a couple cool niggas in there to sit back here. You give them the deal, and you throw them in there like they used to bring Jesse Jackson in.
Put the gladiator.
Remember they used to bring Jesse Jackson in when there was always some civil unrest? Let this nigga talk. Let him talk.
Him and Al Sharpton.
Him and Al Sharpton. Now they going to bring athletes in. Right? Let them talk. Black people.
You gotta have house niggas, man.
You got to have them, man. That's the consequence for getting the deals. Anyway, bro.
I agree 100%, bro.
But that's a move. That's a chess move that they use against our people to quiet down civil unrest.
Yeah. And to placate our people.
They tried it with TIP and Killer Mike during the BLM riots in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Killer Mike came out. I don't like that guy, bro. And then T.I. came out talking big words.
T.I.'s whack, bro. That dude's
T.I. came out
you can't
using
take
big
him
words
serious. Tip.
My
name's Tip.
But they use that even on a small level.
Yeah.
They use national figures, local figures.
Yeah.
I agree with Sean Shamon's point because, that's just, they play chess with our people. Our people aren't, we don't read the scriptures enough, know the history enough to read how Edom deals with our people.
But just the power of a person that's known, that's respected, that goes a long way. And if you're the king, if you are a person of rank or respect or an elder, you have to live your life at a higher standard. And that people are looking.
And that's what Manasseh didn't understand. Manasseh's influence had generational consequences.
Even though he repented.
Yeah.
Even though he repented, when he was negative, it had too much of a long-lasting effect on the nation, and all the reforms in the world that came behind by Josiah wasn't enough to change the heart of the people.
Yep. That's why you could tell your kids don't smoke, but then watching you smoke for 10 years, and although you may have quit, but you've already burned that image in their mind. You could have stopped a long time ago, but they saw you smoking for 10 years. Yeah, I see. I don't do what I did. Don't smoke like me. Well, no, I watch you smoke.
It's bad for you
every day. Matter of fact, you had me buying them.
Oh,
you made me buy the cigarettes for you. But now you done put that image in my head, and now I'm supposed to change it. It's too late. It said, train up a child in the way he should go. When he is older, he shall not depart. It's too late. That influence of Manasseh was too strong.
It's horrible, bro. So, let's continue. Give me verse 26 again.
2 Kings chapter 23 and verse 26. Notwithstanding the Most High turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal. And the Most High said, I will remove Judah also out of my sight.
And this was the confirmation. The Most High was going to remove Judah out of his sight like he removed Israel out of his sight. That just means my sight is fixated on Israel, on the land. Remember the Most High, we read a couple weeks ago how the Most High had to get rid of the people because of how much they were polluting the land. So he had to remove Israel out of his sight so the land can rest. He's from all the wickedness that was being done on the land. So he's saying now, listen, I got to remove Judah out of my sight so the land can rest again. So they're going to go to Babylon, they're going to get sent out, and we got to redo this whole thing from scratch. Read on.
As I have removed Israel, and will cast off this city, Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house of which I said, my name shall be there.
It's sad, man, because after this happened, Israel was just a vassal state from there on out. That's when it talks about how Israel has diminished like earthen pitchers. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to have kings and power and sovereignty, to be reduced to just begging the nations for scraps. Look at all this. Look at all these African countries now. They're sitting back here. Niger is sitting back here and trying to sit back and oust the French government out of their country. They've already kicked out the leader of Niger that was a puppet for France. Now they're in the trick bag because they're here. They're getting reports that NATO's gonna go down there and put these niggas in order. So they're like, shit, what are we gonna do? It ain't like, listen, they got these tough ass Africans with general outfits like they're doing something.
And they got cojones out.
Listen, but that's cool. When they start bringing legitimate military, what are you gonna do? They don't get wiped out because they ousted the other guy. Now they want to sit back and put the regime that they're saying, at least, would do the people right. That's fine and dandy. But you can talk all the crap you want. NATO just got to bring a 1/50th of their military and will put this thing back in order in a minute. So now what are they doing? They're calling Putin. They're calling Wagner. Wagner's coming. Wagner's going to come down there and help them. That's the only. That was a smart play.
Good play.
But that play cost too.
Yeah.
That play cost. Listen, Prigozhin, who runs Wagner, got his little paws on a couple diamond mines that way.
He's gonna be good.
But listen, he got his paws on some diamond mines in other African countries doing the same thing for them. Because that's what happens when you're not a sovereign country and you don't have really any control over your affairs. Now you got to sit back here and barter.
You don't have weaponry to defend yourself.
You don't have an organized army. You don't have the financial infrastructure to sustain yourself. Now you're at the mercies of other countries. Part of the reason why Africa's been so broke for so many years is that the only game in town was America. Then But the game in town with America is you're going to sit back here and be a super debt slave with the highest interest rates. Then they pimp you.
Yeah.
You might be the highest exporter and have the dopest chocolate cacao in the world. And they'll say, you know what? We want your cacao, but you can't sell your cacao to anybody else. And you can't grow any other crops on this land. Now you with NATO protection, congratulations. Now you can't grow any other crops besides this cacao. So now you got to buy grain from us at the dollar price, not at the ham price, not at your little dinar or whatever African dollar you got, which is like 30 to 1. You got to buy it in dollars. Then we're going to give you a loan that you got to pay back in dollars. You'll never pay it back. You eliminate all of your infrastructure. You don't allow, then you can't be self-sufficient. If you can't make rice and grain on your own, then you're just a slave.
Banana Republic.
You can't survive. You got to buy all of your supplies from Europe. And that's how the EU, that's how NATO breaks these nations. Everybody's talking about being part of NATO. It's the biggest scam in the world. Because you have to give up your GDP. Your GDP is ousted. Because they'll say, listen, man, Germany has the lock on rice. Germany got another country that's indebted to them. So we're going to undercut. Then what happens is then in Europe you have to buy NATO products. So all of a sudden you can't even sell your own products anymore. You have to buy NATO products and let people buy them. So all the mom and pops get eradicated in NATO countries. It's like Walmart. And they just keep recreating Walmart. What's everybody's issue with Walmart? Walmart knocks out the middleman.
Small business.
Mm-hmm.
Small business can't function and compete with Walmart. That's what NATO is. We come in here, we bring all of our NATO products here. No more mom and pop shit. If we catch you doing it, we're going to slap you in the wrist and put you on some sanctions. That's how they do it, right? And Africa's even worse. They keep them broke. So now you got these liberators that said, I'm tired of France robbing us and bringing these puppet guys that take from us. So they ousted them and they burned the French embassy. Now NATO's in the way. So now they're calling Wagner and saying, listen, can y'all protect us? It just sucks to live a life where you have no control and you're begging everybody to help you. Now the different countries like China come in and say, okay, we won't break you as much as the Americans. And we'll actually help you with a little bit of infrastructure help. We'll throw a hospital up. Mm-hmm. We'll throw a railroad system up.
The water treatment plant.
Water treatment plant. We'll throw a railroad system in there to get our product in there and to extract our product. And we'll throw a hospital in there. But you know what? We want your lithium mines. I don't care about labor laws. I don't care about none of that shit. I don't know if you've seen those images of these little boys that just swallow up in these holes, bro. And they're just mining for hours in these clay mines. And I saw another image of like this Hamite. This is a courageous Hamite, bro. There was a damn mudslide. And it was just at least 10 people he pulled out of this cave hole.
Collapsing
mine. He was pulling them out. He brought like 10 people out. This is amazing. But these people face real life peril of these mining areas collapsing on them. And there's no law, ain't no regulations, bro. You die. Who's the next guy? You hungry? You want some money? Go down there in that ditch. And you need smaller bodies, so you gotta have kids in there. So China don't give a shit about that because they do the shit with their own people. Yeah. Right or wrong?
They've been doing it.
So what they'll do though, okay, we'll give you a better deal. We'll give you a better deal than America will give you. Russia will give you a better deal than America give you. We want a nuclear power plant here. And we want your port. That's a better deal than being up under an IMF loan for 30 years and you can't pay it. And then after that 30 years goes and you can't pay it. Then they come in and put an Air Force base up there. Then they sit back here and have you start manipulating the voting in the country. It's a better deal.
Yep. Mexico recently ousted a foreign country that was, they dig up this coral off the coast of Mexico that turns the water blue. That's why they got blue water in Cancun. There's a particular coral that you mine, and you can put in your swimming pool, and it turns the water to the swimming pool blue. So this company came in, and they had a permit to dig and the coral, and they set up their own shop and ousted Mexico. So the Mexican government just recently came in and said, we're revoking your permit. Y'all get the hell out of our country. And so they do that. Mexico do that. They say, we don't want you here. Get your ass out. We'll revoke all permits. And we got our own. They just found lithium, and start with a C, not copper, but
Cobalt. Mm-hmm.
And lithium and cobalt.
But you need that for the electric cars.
They just found that in Sonora, Mexico, on the border. So Mexico's like, they're starting to nationalize everything. They're starting to nationalize oil. They're starting to nationalize
this was going to happen. You know another word for another word for nationalizing is? Well, at least 40 years ago, it was communism.
Yeah.
40 years ago, nationalizing anything was communism. Nationalizing your product is we're going to use it. We're going to create our own infrastructure, and we'll sell it out to other people.
And we're going to determine our own price.
You're a commie now. You're a commie.
That's
we have to liberate you.
Yeah.
We have to liberate you.
They give you a false label.
Well, that's what it is. That's what they were saying with all the leaders of Peru and Central America.
They give you a slanderous false label, and they label you as a terrorist.
Go to war.
I know.
To take what they want.
That's what Venezuela is referred to as. All they want to do is they're not going to take our oil.
You can't
and give us a crappy deal.
Yeah.
Now we got to get rid of these dictators. Now it's about human rights. You're a dictator. It's human rights violations.
It's a game.
You're a bad guy. Listen, there was a book. What was that book called? I read it. Damn it. The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. If you get a chance, it was a hell of a book, and it explained how they played that game from the 50s, 60s on up, and how they use these words to label people, to oust and just establish regime change. And then the people that came in to liberate the people were military-trained dictators. Because that was the only way you were going to be able to maintain the stripping away of all of the natural resources of the country, is you have a military-minded guy that would just oust the people that were just getting in the way of the controlling of the population. Whether it was back in the day, it was I don't know if it was United Fruit. It was a fruit company that George Bush controlled back during the CIA time in the 50s, when they sat back and took out Guatemala, and they had a
Chiquita.
It was Chiquita, but Chiquita was a company that benefited from that company, but it was George Bush ran a fruit company.
Yeah,
something fruit.
Yeah.
I just forgot it. I forgot the word, but his fruit company was the front to bring in the CIA coup to take out the leader of Guatemala at the time, to get a better deal on the fruit that was coming to the United States, when you can get all the fruit in season, in time of the damn year. That took a lot. That cost United Fruit. That's what it was. United Fruit was the company that was owned by George Bush Sr. And they sat back here and killed thousands of people in Guatemala so that Americans can enjoy apples and fruits all throughout the season. Citrus fruits. They would take out thousands of people with the regime change. When they brought the new guy in, he gave him the deal in the fruit at dirt rate prices, destroying the infrastructure of the people. But they did that there. They did it in Peru, South America, Central America. It was all across the country. Yes.
You said United Brands became Chiquita Brands?
Yeah, that's what he said. He said Chiquita Bananas. I know. It was all under United. But they sat back here and established regime change because the initial president didn't want any part of it. And then all of a sudden, the initial president wanted to nationalize their fruit, their major export. Who wouldn't want to do that?
And dictate the price.
And dictate the price so your country can come up socioeconomically. But okay, this is where the book called the Confession of an Economic Hitman kicks in. Because they will come in, bring out these business plans, or economic hitman, which are people who are in control of forecasting, financial plans for you. If you sit back here and follow our financial plans, we can make you rich. The problem is those financial plans were never foolproof, and the economic plans really only benefited the president and a handful of the elites. The people always suffered behind it because they would sit back and they would either bring infrastructure plans, they would bring factory plans, but factory and advanced technology that the populace would never get trained into. It's one thing to bring infrastructure, but if the people don't have the education to work these jobs, who's working the jobs? Americans. You're going to bring Americans to the jobs of these countries because the people aren't trained and the education isn't prevalent enough for them to work the jobs for them to benefit. So what good is bringing the infrastructure when only the people up top in America get the benefit? And then what ends up happening, they said, we're going to give you $5 million for this project. But the problem is they never see the $5 million. All they see is buildings. So they don't even have control of the money that they're borrowing. You're just a tool. So everybody in the banks get paid, the corporations get paid, they send down foreign workers to get paid, they're enjoying life, the president gets paid, but the people get nothing out the deal.
No, you get more jobs.
Not really.
No, I'm saying when I say jobs, I'm talking about low-level jobs.
You get more. You get more low-level jobs, or the infrastructure destroys the ecosystem of your country, and it gives you less jobs and less opportunities, less hustles. Point is, this is what happened all in Central and South America through the 50s and 60s and 70s. Then the hustle went out to Africa and Southeast Asia. They did the same thing out there. This is how they break you.
And the same thing they do the national grocery stores too. They go down and set contracts with farmers, and they tell you, okay, well we'll buy your onions, your tomatoes, your apples, your oranges, your potatoes, but you can only sell to us. Mm-hmm. You can't sell to anybody else. And if you don't, we'll just buy from this other farm. If we catch you selling your product, your farm produce to other stores.
They want to control the rate. They control the prices. It's a syndicate. Anyway, we kind of went off on a tangent, but this is how they break countries. So they got Niger out here sweating bullets.
Yeah.
Because they're saying NATO's going to come in and back France. Because this is a France territory. This is still colonialism, just a classier form of colonialism. Ham is getting tired of it, and they're sitting back here acting like Russia's the great white knight.
They said Putin is for us, and we're for Putin.
And my answer is this: Putin's a little better. He get him a little better deal, but it ain't great. It ain't a great deal because you're still a servant to another country. Going back to the point, this is what Israel was going to have to face from this point on. And because Israel got tired of being a subservient nation, is why the Most High always escalated their captivity to another level. That makes it even worse. Because we couldn't handle being in power, the Most High perpetually kept us out of power. And because we never learned how to accept that we were going to be out of power, and we rebelled. That word Sakari, and I'm not knocking the camp of the brothers, but that word Sakari comes from the rebellious Israelites that fought against the Romans and were tired of Roman persecution. But really those Sakaris were tired of what?
Authority.
The Most High being on top of them. The Most High putting the Romans over them. He that despiseth not man, but who? They were pissed off at the Romans, but the Most High put the Romans over them. You should be mad at goddamn Manasseh. You should be mad at their forefathers. You should be mad at
the nobles.
But it was the nobles that was tripping. They should be mad at their forefathers who were in power, who led them this direction. But we don't think that way. And this is why a lot of times, it's important to talk about the nations and the white man, and we just went into some geopolitics right now. But we can talk all day about how the minutia on how Esau controls the world and how off it is. But harping on it is to no avail.
It said, Romans 13 says, rulers are not a terror to good works.
Come.
It said, but to the evil.
Come.
It said, do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. So, we set our own conditions of slavery and indebted captivity.
And that's the problem. We just couldn't accept the Most High stung us for our rebellion. And the Most High put his hands on us because from this time on, because we just didn't want to accept our punishment. So that's another little more in tune angle as to why we don't just completely just go 1,000% attacking Esau all the time, because it's our fault we're in this situation. So let's go back in the scriptures, and we're in Second Kings 23 in verse 27 now, right?
Yeah, we finished verse 7.
Okay, let's get verse 28.
Gone. 2 Kings chapter 23 and verse 28. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And in his days, Pharaoh Necho.
It's still Nico, just spelled differently.
In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates. And King Josiah went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo when he had seen him.
So listen, once again, it looks kind of confusing where it says Pharaoh went up against the king of Assyria. He allied with the king of Assyria against the Babylonian Empire, the Babylonians and the Medes together. Read on.
And his servants carried him in a chariot, dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him, and made him king in his father's stead.
Stop. It says, now the people took the people of the land. These are the same type of people of the land that when there was an assassination attempt on Ammon. Remember Ammon? Ammon was the son of Manasseh. Remember Ammon? And there was an assassination attempt on Ammon 2 years after he was in power, after King Manasseh had died. So, with that being the case, even at that time, the people of the land came in there and chose Josiah to be the king. Because if there's an assassination attempt, half the time, you do a coup with the plans on doing what? With replacing him and having somebody in mind to replace the person you set the coup up with. The people of the land, there was a faction of people in Israel that was determined to keep the lineage of David true to form throughout all these situations. The reason this makes sense is, says, the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him. There's something to this, and I want to go to, I'm kind of jumping the gun, but this is important. 1 Chronicles chapter 3, verse 1 through 16 is going to explain why these people of the land chose Jehoahaz. So, 2 Chronicles chapter 3.
First or second?
Did I say second? It is first. Slack it. It's 1 Chronicles chapter 3, verse 1 through 16.
1 Chronicles chapter 3 and verse 1.
Read that.
Now these were the sons of David, which were born unto him in Hebron. The firstborn, Amnon and Ahinoam, the Jezreelites. The second, Daniel of Abigail, the Carmelites.
The Carmelitess.
The Carmelitess.
That means she's a sister from the people of the Carmelites. So what we're reading in 1 Chronicles 3 is the lineage of David. That's what we're reading. And the lineage of David is also the lineage of the what? The kings. Let's continue.
Verse 2. The third, Absalom, the son of Maachah, the daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur.
Geshur, yes. That means this Absalom, if y'all remember, his mother was Syrian. Absalom's mother was Syrian. The king of Geshur was Syria. Read on.
The fourth, Adonijah, the son of
I need you to give me some more spirit when you read too. Let's keep going.
Con.
I know some tough words, so be loud and just enunciate.
Verse 3. The 5th, Shephatiah of Abital. The 6th, Ephraim, by Eglah his wife. These 6 were born unto him in Hebron. And there he reigned 7 years and 6 months. And in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years. And these were born unto him in Jerusalem: Shimei, and Shobab, and Nathan, and Solomon, 4 of Bathshua, the daughter of Amiel.
That's Bathsheba. Read on.
Abhar, also Elishama, and
Eliphet.
Eliphet, and Nogah, and Nepheg, and Japhiah, and Elishama, and Elelida, and Eliphet, 9. These were all the sons of David, besides the sons of the concubines, and Tamar their sister. And Solomon's son was Rehoboam, Abiah his son, Asa his son, Jehoshaphat his son.
Now we're getting lined up with the kings. Solomon, Rehoboam, Asa, Jehoshaphat. We know Asa was strong, but he faltered at the end. Same thing for Jehoshaphat. Read on.
Joram, his son, Ahaziah, his son, Joash, his son.
Joash was righteous for half the time, and then when his mentor died, he went left. Read on.
Amaziah, his son, Azariah, his son, Jotham, his son, Ahaz, his son.
Ahaz went left. He's the one that shut the doors of the temple and kept all the Levite priests unemployed. Read on.
Hezekiah, his son.
He was a great king. Read on.
Manasseh, his son.
He was the one that pushed Israel to the left. Read on.
Ammon, his son.
He was the one that died in 2 years, and the people of the land replaced him with Josiah. Read on.
Josiah, his son. And the sons of Josiah were the firstborn, Johanan, the second, Jehoiakim, the third, Zedekiah, the fourth, Shalom.
Stop. So it said Josiah had 4 sons: Johanan, Jehoiakim, Zedekiah, and Shalom. Now, hold that, and we're going to read that chapter in Kings, 2 Kings 23. We just read it. What we're reading in Chronicles was all the sons of Josiah. Now we're in 2 Kings 23 and verse what again? Where are we at?
We finished 30.
I want to read 30 again.
2 Kings chapter 23 and verse 30. And his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him and made him king in his father's stead.
Now listen, that's verse 30. It says they took Jehoash and made him king. Now when you read verse 15, which kid is Jehoash? In 1 Chronicles 3 and 15, which kid was Jehoash? There ain't no Jehoash. That was the point. Listen, there wasn't Jehoash. The kid that they chose, his name was Shalom, the 4th born son of Josiah. We're going to explain why his name was changed to Jehoash. It's not a misprint. Jehoash was the name that Necho gave him. This is the era of time where when kings start capturing people, they start changing your name, which is crazy. Either you're gonna go, you can't call your name Shalom no more. I'm gonna call you Jehoash. I don't care what your mama calls you. I'm gonna call you Jehoash. And this is what's happening at this particular point. But before we go into how his name got changed from Shalom to Jehoash, the first thing that pops up in my head, he's the 4th born son. How in the hell did you skip over 3 sons to get to this guy? And this time they said the people of the land did that. The people of the land must have saw the character of them 3 other guys. They said, "No, them niggas got to go out. We can't put these guys on top
We'll be back.
because we're gonna be bankrupt. Listen, They're going to run the kingdom to the ground.
Yeah.
The people knew that already. 3 of those guys got overstepped. Once again, Jehoram, like, no, nigga, he can't do it. Jehoiakim, no, he can't do it. And Zedekiah, no, we're going to pass. It's going to be a hard pass on all 3 of these guys. Give us Shalom, the youngest, to lead the nation after Josiah dies. Yes, sir. And the people chose that. What's that?
Maybe you already explained it, but so did it say like why they skipped over?
No, it doesn't say why. But you gotta put 2 and 2 together. Why wouldn't the oldest come in and be chosen? It normally should go firstborn gets it. That's customary. But then you skip the second too. Then you skip the third oldest, and you choose the young lad gets it. What type of caliber men? And the reason you can put 2 and 2 together, because when you read about all these guys, at least 2 of them get a chance to get up to the top, and they show that they're just whack. They show they can't hack it. That's how you know if they couldn't hack it when they had the power. There was a reason they weren't chosen to be king in the first place. Your hand was up. Oh, your hand. Okay, I'm sorry. Some hand was up. What's up, Bob?
So this, to me, suggests that they had an election of sorts and put it to a vote to where the people said, we want him.
I think there was a strong group of people that were going to push that had the best interest of the nation at hand. And at times, they were able to sit back here and sway the people on the right-hand side. Because it was the same thing. These same people of the land were there during the time of Ammon when he got murdered. And they pushed for Josiah to take the throne for the same reason. Somebody, and I think even, we went over it, how those people knew the prophecy about Josiah coming and helping to restore the people. And because of that prophecy, they pushed it. They pushed to get Josiah up there. For them to push Josiah to be up there, that means there was other people that were in the running to get that position. So right here, the people chose Shalom because he was the best out of a bad batch, even though he was young. And the reason I can say that with confidence is because you look at these men's character down the line, they were horse, you-know-what kings. They were really bad kings. And they helped lead us into destruction even faster. So there was something about Shalom that they said, this guy's got some talent. He's the best out of a bad bunch. Hopefully he can grow up and mature and could grow up into a good leader. That's our best shot at surviving. Okay, so let's come. So, well, Reuben messed up because he messed up with his father's wife, but Reuben was supposed to be the firstborn. He actually physically made the mistake. These guys just had bad character. It was probably badass kids running around the temple being disorderly out. you know, old folks when they see kids and they start acting bad, he ain't gonna be no good. I already know right now. I'm just kidding on that part. But listen, you know that's how people be, huh? He gonna be a little jail nigga when he grow up. I already know it. He gonna be a troublemaker.
Listen, we've had a history of bad kings, huh? You want to choose wisely.
Yeah, and they tried to choose wisely, but the Most High, through how the Spirit worked through, moved Shalom out real quick. Most High moved Shalom out like this. We'll read that later. So, give me verse 16.
First Chronicles chapter 3 and verse 16. And the sons of Jehoiakim.
Jehoiakim. Now listen, I'm kind of foreshadowing here, but Shalom was in power first. Then Jehoiakim was in power second. And then what ended up happening is Jehoiakim's son came into power third. And his name is Jeconiah, which is what you're about to read in verse 16. Read that.
Jeconiah, his son.
Nope. So read verse 16 from the top again.
And the sons of Jehoiakim, Jeconiah, his son. Zedekiah, his son.
So what's happening is the first king that had the reign was Shalom. Second was Jehoiakim with the K. The third was Jehoiakim's son, Jeconiah. And then after Jeconiah got removed, it went back up to Jeconiah's uncle, which was Josiah's third son, Zedekiah. That was how it went. That was the order of it. It was Shalom, which was a very short time. Then it was Jehoiakim, which was a horrible king. And his son came in, didn't have a very long time in power. Then Zedekiah got put back in there. Now these kings end up getting put in by Nebuchadnezzar. We'll read about that later. So, let's go back now to 2 Kings 23 and verse
31.
31.
Ah.
So the people of the land chose Jehoash, the son of Josiah, and anointed him and made him king in his father's stead. Read on.
2 Kings chapter 23 and verse 31. Jehoash was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem.
He was only in power for 3 damn months. And he was the best of a bad bunch. Read on.
And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Most High,
He still did evil. He was sinning at 3 months in. Read on.
according to all that his fathers had done. And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands, and Riblah.
Now listen. Pharaoh Necho put him in bands at Riblah in the land of Hamath. On the map, you'll see Riblah is next to Kadesh. Riblah is in the area and territory of Syria. Riblah is above Damascus. Damascus is how you know we're in Syria territory. Above that is Riblah. This lets us know a couple things. This lets us know that this happened obviously after 609 of the Battle of Carchemish. It also lets you know that Necho had power and control of Syria, which makes sense as to why King Josiah was leery of giving him and that country, Egypt, and Assyria a chance to win against Babylon. Because if Necho if King Necho of Egypt has you flanked from the south and from the north and from the west, you're done. Does that make sense?
God.
So he's in Riblah right now. So what's happening is this. Josiah slows down King Necho to getting up to Carchemish. He slows him down. He slowed him down to the point where even though Josiah died, Necho couldn't get up to Carchemish in time. So the Assyrians lost. And they got smashed. And they had only one more battle. And if I'm not mistaken, that battle was in Hamath or Haran. Remember we read earlier in the Josephus that there was only 2 strongholds left for the Assyrians, and how they already lost the capital city of Assyria, which was Nineveh, and they only had like Turkey, which was they had Haran, and they had Carchemish. Those are the 2 countries. So they lost Carchemish. So there was only one more battle left, and it was Haran, and they were going to lose their empire and territory. Point is, once Necho realized, okay, we didn't make it in time, he puts his focus and venom on breaking Israel. And this is why you're going to read in Chronicles how Necho sits back here and takes control and takes out Shalom and makes him a prisoner and sends him to Riblah. And then eventually sends him down to Egypt, and he dies there. He ends up dying. Shalom ends up getting captured by Necho. Name changed from Shalom to Jehoash. He gets sent from Riblah in Syria and gets taken all the way down to Egypt, and he's a captured slave prisoner of war there. And then what Necho does is says, I'm putting Jehoiakim in control, in charge. You're going to be the guy that runs Israel. So at this particular time, we're going to read that Israel becomes a vassal to Egypt. This is the beginning of us already being a vassal. So before we were subservient to Babylon, we were a vassal to Egypt at this time. This is what's happening. Anybody got a question so far? Because these names can get confusing. That's why I keep saying them out loud. Shalom is Jehoash. But Jehoiakim was brought into power after Jehoash. Shalom gets sent down as a political prisoner. Yes.
So Pharaoh Necho, how did that come about? Why isn't it just Necho?
Because he's still Pharaoh. King Necho, Pharaoh Necho.
Oh, okay. So
It's Egyptian.
changed it.
Oh,
They started calling him Pharaoh Necho instead of just King Necho.
well, we read King Necho in Josephus. The scripture says Pharaoh.
Necho. Okay. All right. That's his discrepancy.
That's the discrepancy, yes. And I think it's going to be, I don't know how they say Necho in Chronicles. We'll go into it in a second. So I'm just trying to make sure I set the tone for what's going to be happening down the line. Am I clear? Yes, sir.
Is it two different kind of shaloms, or this just one?
This is, huh?
Because there's one that says the son of Jabesh. I don't know if that's the same shalom. I don't know.
What Jabesh are we talking about? But the answer is no, but where are you even reading that?
This is in 2 Kings 15:10.
Brother, that's hundreds of years ago.
Nah, because I was on the Blue Letter Bible. It proves about
What I'm saying is if you're reading about 2 Kings 15,
Mhm.
that's a whole nother, that's hundreds of years ago from this time.
Okay.
You're looking at hundreds of years of history difference.
Fine.
Okay, so let's go. Where are we at in 2 Kings 23?
Are we in 33?
Read verse 33 from the top again.
Okay. 2 Kings chapter 23 and verse 33. And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands at Riblah in the land of Haman.
So the technical reason that Necho puts Shalom in bands, this is in retaliation to what Josiah did. Okay?
Prevent them from going up north.
To Carchemish.
Taking it out on the
So
sun.
it's slow. He slowed up progress. They end up losing in Carchemish. Now, strategically, he's out of pocket. He already showed his neck. He already claimed red. He can't turn back now. Huh? He's stuck. So now Babylon's going to be looking at them. So they're like, man, forget this. We're going to take out Israel. Now I'm going to take out your son. Who's the next one in power? Y'all brought him up, then I'm taking him out. So that's what he does. He takes out Shalom, sends him to Riblah. We showed on the map where Riblah is. It's in this country, territory of Syria. He's posted up there because he's still about to have to go back up north very soon to fight against the Babylonians and Medes in the country in the city of Haran, with the remaining group of Assyrians left to battle up there in the last battle for territory and turf for the whole area of Levant. Okay, so with that being the case, I don't want to get it's kind of like it's a lot of information, but I got to take my time and do this before we just run through it. All right, so let's continue in 2 Kings 23.
That he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold.
So listen, you're going to sit back and jack up my progress? I want your bread now. Now you're going to be...
I'm going to eat off you.
I'm going to eat off you. I'm going to sit back here now. I'm going to make you a tributary. You're going to be a vassal. So now Israel is a vassal to Egypt. Read on.
And Pharaoh Necho met Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king, in the room of Josiah, his father.
Stop. We read in 1 Chronicles 3. These names are very important. The scriptures in 1 Chronicles 3 and 16 and 15 called the second son Jehoiakim, but that was not his real name. That was his Egyptian name. That was not his born name. Jehoiakim's born name was what? Eliakim. In verse 34 of 2 Kings 23 and 34. Okay. Read 2 Kings 23 and 34. We're going to bounce a little bit. Read that.
And Pharaoh Necho met Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king, in his room of Josiah, his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim.
This is how it goes. A king takes you over. Your name was Eliakim. I'm going to call you Jehoiakim. So Jehoiakim was not his birth name, even though in Chronicles it said that his name was Jehoiakim. It was Eliakim. But we're not going to hear Eliakim, so we're going to keep Jehoiakim in our brains. Jehoiakim is the second king that comes into power after Josiah dies. Shalom, whose name ended up being what? Huh? Shalom's name ended up being what?
Jehoash.
Jehoash, yes. He ends up getting captured after 3 months of poor rulership, gets sent up to Syria, and eventually gets sent back down to Egypt when everything settles down. Necho then comes in and establishes that vassal situation for multiple hundreds of talents of gold and silver, replaces the leader with a puppet governor that he is comfortable with. That's Jehoiakim. Read on.
And turned his name to Jehoiakim, and took Jehoaz away.
And took Jehoash, or Shalom, away. Read on.
And he came to Egypt and died there.
And Jehoash, or Shalom, was sent up to, obviously, Syria first, Riblah, then sent down to Egypt, and he died in exile. Never to be heard of again. Read on.
And Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh.
Jehoiakim, the new king that Pharaoh placed in the position of the leader of Israel, he found that bread. He found that silver and gold, and he became an official vassal to Pharaoh. Read on.
But he taxed the land to give money according to the commandment of Pharaoh.
That's the cost. If you're a vassal, the whole national GDP falls apart. And the rich get taxed, and the people suffer also. Read on.
He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land.
Into a recession.
It's a recession. Anytime we're a vassal, if you're a vassal state, you're going to be in a perpetual recession. But we've been in a recession we were in a recession from the time of Pharaoh Necho until now.
That's the
Recession or worse.
Yeah.
Recession / slavery. This was it. It didn't get no better than this. It went from being a vassal to Egypt to a vassal to Babylon.
That makes sense.
To captivity. Was that?
To being in captivity to the Persians, then the Greeks, then the Romans, then then so on and so forth.
And so on and so forth.
And we still get our name changed today. We're still Smiths, Taylors, Jacksons, Garcias. We still got the last name of our captors or our plantation names that we belong to.
These are all facts. So this is what's going on with us. This is what's going on. The same thing happened to us now is what happened to us back then. A lot of names are getting changed, man. So now we got Jehoiakim is the king of Israel, and he's taking the money. We're going to read about Jehoiakim. This is not a good guy. We're going to read about him in a little bit. But he's paying out this money to Pharaoh, but he keeps his position. Read on.
He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, of everyone according to his taxation, to give it unto Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. He
reigned 11 bad years in Jerusalem. It was 11. This one also proves Jehoiakim was older than Shalom. Jehoash was 23 years when he was in power. 23 years old. And he only lasted for 3 months. So there was age differences. Okay? It just proves that the older sons just weren't capable of leadership. But this bad leader is in power. Read on.
And his mother's name was Zebudah, the daughter of Peraiah of Ramah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Most High, according to all that his fathers had done.
Stop. Now what we're going to do is go to 2 Chronicles, chapter 2 Chronicles, chapter 35, verse 20 through 27. Once again, we're going back and forth over this because these names have to stick in your brain. If they don't, I'm telling you, when I first started going over this, I'm like, man, J-O who? J-O what? J-O what? J-O Ash? J-O Coney? I'm like, this is bull, bro. And it was hard, but you got to keep drilling it until it sticks. So 2 Chronicles, chapter 35, and verse 20 through 27. Matter of fact, I need to get another reader. It's about that time for you. Now, let's get Adam real quick. Yeah. So, then we'll get like, don't knock it, man, okay?
Adam Shaw Shabbatah, Banya Hawada, Banya Sharalu.
Adam, Shaw Shabbatah, Bar Yahweh, Bar Yashama. I mentioned. Whoop. Yahweh, Bar Yashama, Shabbatah.
Yahaba Shemel Shabrakadam.
All right. So, 2 Chronicles 35, verse 20 through 27.
After all this, when Josiah had prepared the temple, Necho, king of Egypt, came up to fight against Carchemish,
No, against Carchemish.
Carchemish by Euphrates.
So you see how the stories give little different details and accounts of the same thing? So now this goes into Carchemish. Read on.
By Euphrates, and Josiah went out against him. But he also sent ambassadors to him, saying, "What have I to do with thee, thou king of Judah?"
So Necho's like, man, I'm not even trying to mess with you. Let me go do my business and fight these damn Babylonians. Read on.
I come not against thee this day, but against the house wherewith I have war. For God commanded me to make haste. Forbear me from middling with God, who was with me, that he destroy thee not. Nevertheless, Josiah would not turn his face from him, but disguised himself, that he might fight with him.
So now the disguise part comes out. He disguised himself in the land of Megiddo the same way Ahab disguised himself in this same land. No. Ahab disguised himself in the valley of Jehoshaphat, Salakia. He disguised himself in Jehoshaphat. Josiah disguised himself in Megiddo. Read on.
Nevertheless, Josiah will not turn his face from him, but disguised himself, that he might fight with him, and hearken not unto the words of Necho from the mouth of the Most High, and came to fight in the valley of Megiddo. And the archers shot at King Josiah, and the king said to his servants, "Have me away, for I am sore wounded." His servants therefore took him out of that chariot and put him in the second chariot that he had. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and he died, and was buried in one of the sepulchres of his fathers. And all Judah and Jerusalem mourned for Josiah. And Jeremiah lamented for Josiah, and all the singing men and the singing women spake of Josiah in their lamentations to this day, and made them an ordinance in Israel. And behold, they are written in the lamentations. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and his goodness, according to that which was written in the law of the Most High, and his deeds, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel and of Judah.
Okay. So, once again, the crazy thing is Josiah was trying to block Necho from fighting up in Carchemish. Babylon was going to win anyway, man. Babylon was going to win. He should have just let Necho go. But he was trying to force course of river, and the Most High removed him. But ultimately, he removed him because it was time for Israel to fall. If you want to get to the core of it, it was time for Israel to fall. And you can see how quickly things escalated. That lets you know that had to happen. 3 months after Josiah dies, everything falls apart. 3 months? Listen, I'm going to go back to the point, but I want to go real quick to Ecclesiasticus 34, verse 23. Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 34, and verse 23. Ecclesiasticus 34 and 23.
23. When one buildeth and another pulleth down, what profit have they then but labor?
That's the first thing I thought. When one buildeth and another pulleth down, what profit have they but labor? Josiah was in power for 31 years. Out of those 31 years, he was sitting back here and attacking the negativity of Israel from the time he was 20 on the way through. So for 19 years, he dedicated himself to eradicating negative and rebuilding the temple, doing all this stuff and becoming sovereign and bringing up the northern kingdom. So for 19 years of hard work goes down the drain in 3 months. 3 months, what happens? Shalom is in power. He gets captured. Now we're a vassal state in 3 months after 19 years of dedication. How disheartening is that? How disheartening is the work we do for the Most High if you can bust your tail for X amount of years and do things right, and right after the next guy comes in and screws the pooch?
Happens all the time.
It happened, and that's why I'm bringing it out. It happens all the time in Israel. Brothers can lay a legacy of good works and do good, and another person comes in and just throws it all away. There's a lesser caliber guy, a more narrow-minded individual, a person that's not committed to the work like the other person is, and all the good that's done gets thrown away. It's just a very disheartening reality about leadership and legacy. It's the same thing that happens even with men when they have their children. All men have great hopes and aspirations that their children and their seed's going to sit back and do good works, and a lot of times the kids just screw up and don't respect the work that the father put in and the wife put in to build a foundation. And they sit back and throw away their inheritance, throw away. You ever see people like, there's a 2-generation home and the next generation just sells the damn house? And now they just, and they sell it, but there's 5 people and they get $10,000 each and they think they won. Huh? This is low-level nigga shit. Or even if you get $20,000 and you split it up and you get $100K and you split it up 5 ways. What good is that? You keep the house. You keep the property in your family's name down the line. But people don't give a shit about that. All they care about is, I got $5,000 to blow in a month or two. $5,000 ain't nothing.
Something foreign.
So it's something foreign that you're gonna get rid of and lose. You're gonna get something foreign. That's a down payment. Maybe.
Or you buy something that, a house is an asset. You buy, but they'll buy liabilities with the assets. Things that depreciate in value.
No.
These things, but houses have long-standing value. Land has value.
Put the money. Why don't you get a home equity loan? Just build the house up and put money into the home.
Right.
And create more value. Borrow off the loan and do something with that. Don't give up the house. But Israel is so damn narrow-minded and short-sighted and selfish. They can't get past what they want now. Just legacy. Just the idea of legacy, man. Josiah created a whole damn environment that was honorable, and in 3 months it goes to shit. That's just disheartening. That's disheartening, man. I don't know what to say, man.
You could dedicate your life's work to something good and positive, and 1 generation later, that's what Solomon was talking about all his vanity. He said, you leave it to one behind you, it's going to destroy it. That's going to destroy your labor. He said, this is vanity, man, and vexation of spirit. Knowing that no matter how hard I work to try to emphasize something good and leave something long-standing on earth as a positive influence, it only takes one knucklehead to come and destroy everything that's being built.
One sinner destroys much good.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening. A bunch of lower-level sons that don't appreciate nothing. You had a perfect example of how to operate, and you just throw it away. All the sons did. All the sons, they chose Salam because he had the better potential, and he screwed it up. It's just sad, man. It's just real damn sad. Let's continue to go back in the point, man. That just was kind of a vexing thing when I was reading this, man. Just how things just fell apart in 3 months. But let's keep going. So anyway, Josiah, the reason I ever got to that point was just a reminder that the Most High had to remove Josiah and just bring him in, and had to bring him out and set this cascading fall. Don't forget, this was 609 BC when Josiah died. 609, we fell in 598. It wasn't listen. The official complete fall was 586, but a big chunk of the fall happened between 598 and 597. So from the time, it was really an 11-year span after Josiah died that everything fell apart. 11 years. That's how quickly it had to happen. It diminished and disintegrated. 11 years and 3 months, approximately. So, anyway. Matter of fact, let me read this real quick, see if I want to go here before we continue further on the next phase of what we're doing. Something tells me this is not necessary to focus on this part I got. No. I don't want. Yeah, we're gonna keep going in Chronicles. Then let's do that.
2 Chronicles 36:1.
Yep.
Then the people of the land took Jehoaz, the son of Josiah, and made him king in his father.
Matter of fact, Salakia, not yet. Before we go to that part, which we will, I want to go to 1 Ezra. 1 Ezra, chapter 1. Esdras, not Ezra. Ezra and Esdras the same thing, but same guy, but we're in Esdras in the Apocrypha. 1, verse 25 through 33.
25.
1 Ezra, chapter 1, verse 25 through 33.
Now, after all these acts of Josiah, it came to pass that Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, came to raise war at
Carchemish. But it's still Carchemish, same thing. Read on.
Raised war at Carchemish upon Euphrates, and Josiah went out against him. But the king of Egypt sent to him, saying, What have I to do with thee, O king of Judea? I am not sent out from the Most High against thee, for my war is upon Euphrates. And now the Most High is with me. Yea, the Most High is with me, hasting me forward. Depart from me, and be not against the Most High. Howbeit, Josiah did not turn back from his chariot from him, but undertook to fight with him, not regarding the words of the prophet Jeremy spoken by the mouth of the Most High, but joined battle with him in the plain of Megiddo.
So he said the words of the prophet Jeremiah spoke about the fact that Babylon was going to win. Babylon was going to come in and take out this country from the north, was going to take out and make Israel captive. Josiah was still meddling with prophecy versus allowing the Most High to operate the way he needs to have it operated. So even though Josiah did good works, he still meddled and there was consequences behind it. Read on.
But joined battle with him in the plain of Megiddo, and the princes came against King Josiah. Then said the king unto his servants, Carry me away out of the battle, for I am very weak. And immediately his servants took him away out of the battle. Then gat him up upon his second chariot, and being brought back to Jerusalem, died, and was buried in his father's sepulchre. And in all Jewry they mourned for Josiah. Yea, Jeremy the prophet lamented for Josiah. And the chief men with the women made lamentation for him unto this day. And this was given out for an ordinance to be done continually in all the nation of Israel. These things are written in the book of the stories of the kings of Judah, in every one of the acts that Josiah did, in his glory, in his understanding, in the Torah of the Most High. And the things that he had done before, and the things now recited, are reported in the book of the kings of Israel and Judea.
We're going to read to 39.
And the people took Jehoaz, the son of Josiah, and made him king instead of Josiah his father, when he was 23 years old. And
So once again, this is Jehoaz was the name that he was given by the Egyptian king Necho. His real name was Shalom. Read on.
And he reigned in Judea, and in Jerusalem 3 months. And then the king of Egypt deposed him from reigning in Jerusalem.
Okay.
And he set a tax upon the land of 100 talents of silver and 1 talent of gold. The king of Egypt also made King Joachim, his brother, king of Judea in Jerusalem.
There you go. King Necho made King Jehoiakim. Now the spelling is different, but the concept is the same. King Jehoiakim with a K. And his name was Eliakim. Remember his name was Eliakim in Hebrew? It was changed to Jehoiakim. Read on.
And he bound Joachim and the nobles. But Zacharias, his brother, he apprehended and brought him out of Egypt. 25 years old was Joachim when he was made king in the land of Judea in Jerusalem.
When it says he bound Joachim and the nobles, that means they were vassals. There was no getting out. They had to answer to keep Necho to get anything accomplished. Read on.
And he did evil before Yahweh. Wherefore against him.
Yeah, I don't want verse. I don't want paragraph 40 because that goes in Nebuchadnezzar.
And,
that?
and one verse on that point. Ecclesiastes in the Bible, chapter 2, verse 18. How you were saying how everything that Josiah worked for went down the drain in a flash. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 18.
It's almost like, I mean, listen, the Most High really humbles everything we do. You know, you want things to be about legacy and lasting forever, right? But it was just about Josiah did well, he did good, and this time he had to go. That's all it was, devil. And that was it, huh? All that work, and it was forgotten about damn near. Anyway, keep going.
Yep.
Keep going with your point. It's just that's a sad concept. Huh?
Right. Read that.
2 and 18. Yea, I hated all my labor which I had taken under the sun.
That's what Solomon said. He said, I hate all the labor that I put up and worked hard for. Why? Read on.
Because I should leave it unto the man that shall be after me.
Because I got to leave it behind the man that come after me. Meaning all this work is not going to stand for a long time. You want to build a legacy that can last for generations to come. That's not guaranteed. As soon as you leave, as soon as you die, your children, that next generation, they might not have the same discipline you had.
What verse is that again?
Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 18 through 20. Read.
Okay.
And who knoweth whether he should...
It said, and who what?
And who knoweth...
And that's why he said, you don't know what's in your children.
True.
You can only think that you put the best that you could into them, but they might not have your discipline. They might not have your foresight.
Your love.
They might not have your fear of the Lord. They might not have your dedication. They might not have your sobriety. Read on.
Whether he shall be a wise man...
He said, you don't know if that next generation is going to be a wise man. Read on.
Or a fool.
Or they could be a what?
A fool.
They could be a fool.
A new fool.
Yeah. You don't know.
Boy, a new fool.
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know what that next generation is going to be. You just got to trust that the Most High is going to take care of them. He said, but all that hard work could go down the drain in one generation. Read on.
Yet shall he have rule over all my labor wherewith.
He said, but
that's what I'm saying.
This either a wise man or a fool, whatever he's going to be, he's going to have power over everything that you work for.
Remember Braveheart? Remember Longshanks Act and his son Act? Would you want that guy to be the guy that's in your name after you die at?
No.
Longshanks was like, you got to shake it off, bro. I only got like 15 more years. This medieval diet is not going to work, bro. This meat and bread is not enough. I will die soon. You got to shake out. You got to shake this shit off, you. I'm gonna kill your little lover. You got to sit back and get a woman and make this happen. You're a whack out here. But think about that. That was the guy who was going to take over the King of England. Take all the power over, right? And you know, Spain and Italy is watching this soft ass dude. We're going to get this dude out. You're going to slap this guy in the mouth. We're going to check this dude, see where he's at. Right when Longshanks dies. They weren't going to test Longshanks out, but I'm getting this soft ass dude with his little linens and his little purple cloth on. I'm breaking this dude out. You didn't see how Longshanks was dressing out? It was all power out. Lioness, silverness. This dude was prancing around with purple and yellows and shit. I'm getting this dude out. I'm just waiting.
He was liberal.
He was very liberal. There we go with the politics again. All I'm saying, I'm just saying what he's saying. It sucks to know that all your hard work is going to go to naught because of this dude that doesn't take serving the Most High as serious as you do. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Read on.
Yet shall he have rule over all my labor wherein I have labored, and wherein I have showed myself wise under the sun.
Read on.
This is also vanity.
And that's why I said this is vanity. Read on.
Therefore I went about to cause my heart to despair of all the labor which I took under the sun.
He said, this is why instead of taking joy and pride in my hard work, he said, I looked at my hard work as being for nothing.
Yep.
Because look, you can't determine the discipline of the people that's coming after you.
Solomon's like, I got red on my hair next time.
Yeah.
This ain't going to work. This dude was coddled. He didn't have to sacrifice nothing. He's going to go into this power, and I know this guy don't got no sense to him. You don't think out of all the people Solomon has summed up and seen in his life, he knew this guy was lacking at? Talking about this guy's lacking like a mug. The kingdom is over, right? This thing is over.
All the targets of gold put in the wall. All the cedars laid up in the temple.
Listen, Ham embarrassed Rehoboam. After the whole fall, Ham came in and embarrassed and shamed Rehoboam when he opened the doors up to the temple line. And they came in and laughed at him and took his bread and took all of his ornaments out. And they called him a you-know-what. And they walked off. They put female body images all around his palace out.
Yep.
They said, we came here to fight. And you didn't want to fight, you a you-know-what.
Yeah.
We're going to sit back, and I'm gonna sit back here and walk around here with my little spears and spear chunking angles out, and I'm going to laugh at you and call you out of your name and take yourself and walk out. That was the kind of man that Solomon knew he had in his son. And all this work, all these projects I didn't finish and seen to the end, and this is what happens to the kingdom after this. The same thing with Josiah. It's very disheartening. But then it's a reminder that the work we bring to the table for the Most High is for Him. And that's the only power we got, is in our service to Him. Our legacy is based on how well we served Him. We can't control what happens after this, after we pass on. It is gonna sit back here and fall apart. We just hope we have enough of a standard that somebody stands up for us right after us. Yes.
It's the only thing you can take with you.
That's it, bro. It's your choices and your conduct. That's it, bro.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
verse
bro.
20.
That's
yeah.
perfect. That. Let's continue. And I think it's the Apocrypha, right? Yeah. Oh no, we finished the Apocrypha. Let's go. 2 Chronicles chapter 30. No, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do Josephus. Let's do Josephus. Book 10. Chapter 5, paragraph 2. And then we're going to go into Chronicles 36, verse 1 through 4. Let's see. Yeah, let's do that. You need a Josephus, sir? Let's read that, sir. Paragraph 2.
Upon the death of Josiah, which we have already mentioned, his son Jehoias, by name, took the kingdom.
Jehoash, which was his name was Shalom, but it was changed to Jehoash. Read on.
By name, took the kingdom, being about 23 years old. He reigned in Jerusalem, and his mother was Hamutal.
Hamutal sounds better than Hamutal. But keep going.
Of the city of Leba. He was an impious man.
That's Libnah.
Libnah.
Mm-hmm.
He was an impious man and impure in his course of life.
That's crazy, bro.
But as the king of Egypt returned from the battle, he sent for Jehoaz to come to him, to the city called Hamath.
Now this gives you more detail about the situation. So listen, when you do these fighting expeditions, it takes months to get things done, to get resources set up. So now we're here, and after the fight in Carchemish, they got there late. It didn't work out the way they wanted. Now Nico sits back here and invites Shalom or Jehoash up to meet him, to rap. Okay? And they did this, obviously, in the city of Riblah. Read on.
To the city called Hamath.
Well, Hamath. Hamath is above Riblah. Now, the other scriptures say Riblah. We read it in Kings, it said Riblah. So Riblah, Hamath, tomato is in the Syrian region. Read on.
Which belongs to Syria.
There we go.
And when he was come, he put him in bands and delivered the kingdom to a brother of his.
So listen, so they flim-flammed him. They told him to come up here, rap in Hamath or Riblah, whichever city in Syria they say, because as he's coming from Carchemish, which was in present-day Turkey, he comes down to Syria, he rests for a little bit, he resettles his troops, he brings up the king, Jehoash, or Shalom. They put him in bands, they lock him up, they say, listen, bro, this is for your father Josiah, what he did. So we're going to throw you in the clink, and we're going to bring another son in to establish a message to the leadership and the princes in Jerusalem that we mean business, and we want our money. Listen, the reason that they captured him is the same reason that they captured Antiochus Epiphanes in Rome and made King Antiochus made Antiochus Epiphanes had to stay in Rome while King Antiochus continued to send monies to the Roman Empire. This is what they did. If I have royalty in our city, it's going to force you to pay us. This was the thinking. If I take the king, send him to Egypt, then it's going to force you to keep giving us ransom money. If you don't pay us, we're going to kill him. But this is what most kings at the time, that's how they sustained tribute. They just took the king, brought him down, and that's what it was. That was what they did. Once again, they did that same thing to Antiochus Epiphanes when King Antiochus was in power, his father. He was the son that had to stay in Rome and chill. And if the father stopped bringing them checks, they was going to kill him. So, that's just a way of how they operated and did business back in those days. So, let's continue.
And when he was come, he put him in bands, and delivered the kingdom to a brother of his, by the father's side, whose name was Eliakim.
Eliakim, which ended up being what? Read on.
Changed his name to Jehoiakim.
Nico changed Eliakim's name to Jehoiakim. Read on.
And laid a tribute upon the land of 100 talents of silver, and a talent of gold.
And that was done. If you paid it, your brother lived. If you didn't, he dies. Read on.
And this sum of money Jehoiakim paid by way of tribute. But Necho carried away Jehoahaz into Egypt, where he died, when he had reigned 3 months and 10 days. Now Jehoiakim's mother was called Zebudah, of the city of Ramah. He was of a wicked disposition.
Now listen. It said Shalom or Jehoash, he was what? Listen, he was impious. Let's get the word impious in the 1828 if we can. Impious, irreverent towards the supreme being, wanting or lacking in veneration of the Most High for his authority, irreligious, the scoffer at the Most High. That is what the first son Shalom was. This guy was even worse. This guy had a wicked disposition. How he carried himself was wicked. How he walked around, you knew this guy didn't give a damn. This guy gave two you-know-whats about his people or the Most High. Okay? So, continue.
He was of a wicked disposition, and ready to do mischief.
He was ready to go left, Doc. He was looking for opportunities to do negative. There's a difference between I'm dismissive of the Most High, and I'm not really too serious about serving him, versus a guy that was about that action. He was about wickedness. He was about doing dirt. He was proactive.
Diligent and negative.
He was, and we're going to go into it, but he was proactive in his wickedness. So it was a greater, and this is why the people of the land didn't choose him in the first place. This is why they chose a guy that was just a little dismissive of the Most High over a guy that was about the left-hand side. It was like the best of a bad choice. All these sons were garbage. So let's continue.
Nor was he either religious towards Yahweh.
So he was obviously impious towards the Most High, and on top of that, he was what?
Or good-natured towards men.
He just wasn't good towards people. He had that Lord spirit on him. I'm just going to take advantage of people. Yeah. We're going to read that. He just took advantage of people. He didn't give a damn, bro. He was just a bad guy. So, we're going to let that part go. Now we're going to read in Jeremiah the prophecy about, this is the prophecy that was talked about in the Apocrypha in Esdras, 1 Esdras 1. Okay? Let's go read it. It's Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 14 through 19. Now, we read Jeremiah 2 earlier in the classes, from like 1 to like 13, or from like 4 to 13. We read that a couple classes ago. So let's get in Jeremiah 2. And Read 13 real quick again from the start. We're going to read 13 down to 19.
For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water.
So he said, man, we're guilty of forsaking the Most High and carving our own damn path that's not going to be able to sustain down the line. Read on.
Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?
Now, this is a prophecy. Is at the time they hadn't gotten spoiled yet. But the spoiling was a prophecy about Egypt coming. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? Read on.
The young lions roared upon him and yelled, and they made his and they made his land waste. His cities are burned without inhabitants.
Now, verse 15 is saying that these leaders and these kings have roared on them, and the cities are burned without inhabitant. Read on.
Also, the children of Noph and Tahaphanes have broken the crown of thy head.
So he's saying that the children of Noph and Tahaphanes are cities in Egypt. Cities in Egypt have broken the crown of thy head. This is a prophecy of the Egyptians coming in and breaking the power of the Hebrews. We're reading about that in 2 Chronicles 36 and 35 and 2 Kings 23. And this is the prophecy coming to life about the Egyptians making Israel, vassals, breaking their crown, breaking their leadership, breaking their rulers. They took a ruler and brought him down to Egypt. How much more clear can you be on the prophecy? Read on.
Hast thou not procured this unto thyself?
Hasn't this happened because of what you've done? Haven't we brought this calamity of the Egyptians taking us out and tearing the crown of our head down because of our conduct? Read on.
In that thou hast forsaken the Most High thy power when he led thee by the way?
Mm-hmm.
And now, what hast thou to do in the way of Egypt to drink the waters of Seir? Or what hast thou to do in the way of Assyria to drink the waters of the river?
Mm-hmm.
Thine own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backsliding shall reprove thee. Know, therefore, and see that it is an evil thing and bitter that thou hast forsaken the Most High thy power, and that my fear is not in thee, saith Yahweh of hosts.
So this is dealing with Egypt starting to chip away at our leadership. And he's connecting Egypt taking us down with Assyria starting to take us down back before with the northern kingdom. Okay? So, with that being the case, this was still a prophecy about Egypt and the incoming doom that was coming to Israel. Verse 15 talks about the cities being burned. The cities weren't burned until Babylon took us out in 586 BC. But leading up to that fall by the Babylonians was the Egyptians coming in and breaking the crown of our head. Breaking the crown of our head is what? Making us that vassal state. This was a prophecy about Egypt taking us down first, and that was the beginning of our downfall. Because of us, our actions. Does that make sense?
And that was due to that impiety that we read about in the Josephus of Jehoash or Shalom, the son of Josiah. It said he had a wicked course of life, man.
Yeah.
Like, damn, bro, it didn't take that long.
3 months, huh? What was you doing in 3 months?
3 months, yeah. What kind of wickedness was he doing in 3 months?
That's a good question.
Brother, what kind of parties was you having? What you doing, huh?
No more parties in
LA. No more parties in Jerusalem. Something's happening, huh? Let's continue, man.
3 months.
3 months, the whole thing falls apart. 3 months.
That's it for 19.
Yep, that's it for 19. We're going to let that verse go. And go to... Did we go there already? 23 and... Yeah, we went there already. Jeremiah 22. Jeremiah 22, verse 1 through 12.
Jeremiah 22 and 1. Thus saith the Most High, go down to the house of the king of Judah and speak there this word, and say, hear the word of the Most High, O king of Judah, that sitteth upon the throne of David. thou and thy servants and thy people that enter in by these gates. Thus saith the Most High, execute ye judgment in righteousness, and deliver the spoiled out of the hand of the oppressor.
So he's like, listen, he said, the Most High told Josiah, the Most High told Jeremiah to tell the king this, to warn the king to sit back here and demand that the king does right by the oppressor. Stop having the oppressor take advantage of the weak. Stop having the leader take advantage of the people that don't have the power to do anything about it. This is what was happening in the kingdom. Corruption was at a high level. It wasn't just impiety and laws being broken and sinning and idolatry. Now all of a sudden the weak were being taken advantage of. The young people that didn't have power were being oppressed by the ones in power. So deliver the spoiled out of the hand of the oppressor. Read on.
And do no wrong. Do no violence to the stranger, the fatherless, nor the widow. Neither shed innocent blood in this place.
That means that's what was happening. This is what was happening in Jerusalem before the fall. The widow was being taken advantage of. The poor, the innocent. Violence was happening to the strangers. He was even saying, listen, the strangers are the nations. Why are you taking advantage of the strangers who had no power? For all you white man's devil guys, listen, man, he said, listen, the nations, you can't treat the nations with disrespect just because they're the nations.
If they're serving you, though.
Just because they're nations, you don't treat people jacked up. That's the point.
We adopt that mentality. Anybody can get it.
God.
Anybody killer. We're going to get anybody.
Just because the nations don't mean you treat them with disrespect and take advantage of them and use people and do wrong by people. So all the people that didn't have power and authority were just getting crapped on. And this is what he's telling the king, stop this.
But this is what happens when our society and our culture dilapidates on the 9.5 tribe side and on the Judite side.
Mm-hmm.
We go into a dog-eat-dog mindset.
Classism.
You look up classism, yes, and there's also weak versus strong versus weak.
Mm-hmm.
When you deal with Issachar on the border, it's all about if you can't protect what you got, I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna sit here and exploit people that don't have any resources. I'm gonna exploit you. You got good business. Listen, that's gonna go to the cartel. It's gonna go over here. It's gonna go over there. I'm gonna go ahead and send your children over here for these missions. You have no say over it because they have a broken structure or a broken system. With Judah, listen. If this person has a propensity for addiction, I'm gonna pimp this person's addiction.
Yeah.
Or if the women are open and they're open for negative guidance, they're open for a masculine figure and they're in poverty, I'm gonna sit there and manipulate them with skill and get a product out of their ability to be manipulated. So we really eat ourselves and destroy ourselves when it comes to how we conduct our communities.
And once again, we're reading about Egypt making us a vassal.
Yeah.
The Most High, I'm going to have you be a vassal because you don't know how to even lead your own people. Yeah. You don't even know how to take care of your own people. So why should I keep you in power? We showed the Most High that we didn't even have enough ability, class, respect for one another to be in positions of leadership and power. We couldn't handle authority. We didn't respect power. We didn't respect authority. So why keep giving it to us?
Okay.
If you don't respect each other, then I'll let the white man take over you guys. You don't lead each other right. Yeah. You don't take care of each other. Now you want to talk about the white man? He's saying you weren't taking care of the poor and the stranger when you had the chance.
Yourself.
Now you want to talk about the white man not taking advantage of the oppressing the poor, which is true, right? White man doesn't take care of the oppressing the poor of our people, but neither will we. We want power, but never learned why we got taken out of power. We never had respect and appreciation for how to treat and govern our nation. And that's why he took it away. But before he took it away, Moses said, Jeremiah, talk to this dude. Talk to the king and let him know what's on my mind. Does that make sense? Let's continue. Verse 4.
For if he do this thing indeed, then shall there enter in by the gates of this house kings sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, he and his servants and his people. Mm-hmm. But if you will not hear these words.
So he's like, man, if you listen and you take care of the poor and take care of the needy, there will be kings that thrive on this throne. There'll be generations to where, this is the point about, even with the Babylonian invasion. The Babylonian invasion, it wasn't supposed to be Israel being taken out of Babylon. Taken out of Jerusalem and sent to Babylon. The goal was, listen, man, you got to get stung for what Manasseh did. You got to get stung for the corruption that is in Israel. But if you guys just learn to take care of your people, if you learn to take care of one another, I'll at least keep kings in your gates. I'll at least keep you to where you can self-run your own people.
Sovereignty.
I'll give you some sort of sovereignty, not total sovereignty, but I'll give you some sort of sovereignty if you can just learn to love each other. Now, I'm going to punish you because of what Manasseh did and what he brought into the nation. But just learn to love each other, and I can work with that. Read on.
But if ye will not hear these words, I swear by myself, saith the Most High, that this house shall become a desolation.
If you can't learn how to love your brother and your sister and your widows, then I just got to take you out of the city completely. That's not the goal.
Wow.
The goal wasn't to take us out and send us to Babylon. It was just to make us a vassal, slap the wrist, try to get us to change and treat our people right.
But you went to, I think months ago, something very similar to this, dealing with the Romans, how they treated us initially.
Yeah. The Romans and the Greeks treated us with respect.
Before we completely capitulated, the Romans and the Greeks treated us with admirable respect. And they wanted to know, they want to understand our culture.
And all they ask is, listen, you guys are into your little Bible hoodoo things. Just send some sacrifices for us, and we'll front it.
Pay your taxes.
Well, that too. Because the Romans did two things. The Romans weren't into Hellenizing people. They felt that was bad for business. Then listen, man, you follow your little whoop-de-whoop God, send some incense for us, kill some animals for us in our kingdom's name, pay the taxes, and everything would be good. The Greeks were okay with letting us have our spiritual sovereignty as well, until a large majority of the population wanted Hellenism. That's the only reason Antiochus came in there. Antiochus didn't come in there to just force us to change. We came to him. People don't realize that. We came to him as a large majority of political power and influence saying that we want this. There was a tug of war before Antiochus came in about the direction of the nation. Pushing Hellenism or pushing the old ways. Huh?
The Civil War. Yeah.
It was an internal war. Before Antiochus came in and said, we're not going to have this in our kingdom. You're still a vassal to us. So if the city, even if from a Greek perspective, if the city is split in half about being Hellenistic or Hebrew, what is the Greek culture, what is the Greek leadership going to do? We're going to sit back here and go Greek. It's split in half anyway. Why not just go Greek then? Forget it. We can't have civil war and unrest in the city. Right? Does that make sense? No, that don't make sense. Now let's go Greek. But that's us. We did that. We keep doing it. And now we're here in Jeremiah. And Jeremiah is being used to tell the people, listen, treat your people right, and I'll keep you in the city. If you can't treat your people right, he's like this. He's not even saying about idolatry at this point. We know idolatry is why we're going to become vassal in the first place. But outside of the idolatry that you got to fix, can you just treat the poor? Don't stop taking advantage of them. Stop extorting them. The widow, can you stop bleeding her dry? Can you stop doing the stranger so wrong? If you can do that, you can at least have kings in your city where you have a little power over this little city of yours. If you can't do that, I'm going to take you out of the city. Read on. Read verse 5 again.
Verse 5. But if ye will not hear these words, I swear by myself, saith the Most High, that this house shall become a desolation. For thus saith the Most High unto the king's house of Judah, Thou art Gilead unto me.
What does that even mean? You're Gilead unto me, because Gilead was wicked. Gilead was a province or a city of Manasseh. Manasseh and Ephraim, that area. And now it was Manasseh to be specific, but he says, you're Gilead to me, because Gilead was that city that had to get conquered by the Assyrians. You're like, bro, you guys are living and operating wicked like the northern kingdom was. Now you're taking advantage of the people too. You're putting me in a position where I got to do extreme measures to break you guys. Read on.
And the head of Lebanon. Yet surely I will make thee a wilderness in cities which are not inhabited.
I got to take the people out the city. Read on.
And I will prepare destroyers against thee.
He's going to prepare nations and people that will destroy our people. Read on.
Every one with his weapons. And they shall cut down thy choice cedars and cast them into the fire.
What made Babylon so potent is they were war hardened already for generations. They were going back and forth through the Assyrian Empire for generations leading up to this point where they were finally on top.
So they've been having a long haul, just like Russia. And I'm not trying to go into that too political angle, but Russia's been suffering for a long time.
They've been hardened.
They've been suffering.
This is why, hell, the United States ain't listen, this is really backfiring on the United States. Russia's got a 2 years war-hardened damn nation. And you get American here with no war, not a lot of war experience. The last real war experiences was in Iraq and taking advantage of Iraqi farmers and Afghan farmers. That level of fighting is nothing. It's nothing compared to what they're about to face. Trench warfare. I saw this image on Twitter, man. Where this Ukrainian dude, bro, had his camera on, and he was chronicling fighting, and it was fighting against these Russians, and it was scary. I think I showed y'all. He's sitting back here. You can hear this gun, like, juice, 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 and he hides under a tree to protect himself from the fire. You don't know where they are. You're just on the ground low, and it's a bunch of grass, high grass, tall grass. You can't see the enemy.
But you hear the bullets hitting the tree.
You hear the bullets hitting the tree. It is the scariest shit ever. So you don't even know what to shoot. You're just going to be shooting out, hoping it hits something. So then he must have panicked because he moved from the tree to go left, maybe to another tree. And all of a sudden, it was like, and all of a sudden he had like a death rattle.
He could hear his voice. He could hear some kind of sound.
It was a death rattle. That is a death rattle. And he sat back here and he had that death rattle and just pop.
See the camera hit the grass.
And that was it, bro. And you heard the people. No. They were talking in Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Because it was hot. It was a hot zone. And I'm like, bro, are we ready for this shit? Are all these gender affluent peoples that are out here in the military out?
No, sir.
Gender fluid people in the military? All these women gonna sit back here and fight out here against these Russians out?
No.
And these switch hitters are gonna fight against these damn Russians out? I'm telling you out, you think this shit is light? That infantry shit, I saw a year, like when it first started, there was like 4 like high speed like Americans out. It was a Chinese guy, it was a horse, and 3 white boys out. And they had the camera on. They're like, man, these guys are moving. These guys are a team. He said, this is intense. And they're like, go. They was in a truck. They were all rushing the truck. They just escaped like some crazy gunfire and crazy maneuvering. But you can tell their adrenaline was pumping out. They're like, man, these guys are. This will work. These guys are dialed in. He said, these dudes are dialed in. He's like, man, we gotta get out of here. Let's go.
Because it's not like fighting sheep herders.
That's my point.
It's not like fighting.
That's my point of what I was saying. These guys are dialed in. It ain't like sitting back here and fighting guys that don't have the same weaponry and better than you. These guys got more advanced shit than you got. And they're ready for this terrain. You know, all those Bradleys and Leopards. I saw this like this little pansy little French tank. It was on Ukrainian soil, and the damn truck just did this. Just toppled over, right? Because they were driving it out, and they hit a bump or something like it, and it was too high. The configuration of the tank is too top heavy. It hit a bump.
It's those 90s Ford
and
Explorers.
they was sitting. It was like this, Yes, hilarious.
Those rollovers, huh?
It rolled over, and you're done. You gotta get out of it and go back, bro. What you gonna do? And it was these French. It just looks like it's French and soft, narrow. What is this bullshit ass? They call it the Challenger or the Command. Like, this is not a good, well-designed machine.
It's like a croissant with wheels.
That's exactly what it is. Like, what is going on here?
It's a baguette.
Croissant. It's a creep. It's creep. It's a real soft. It can't handle nothing. Like, this is whack. This is why the French get always clowned on that. Macron is soft. The country is soft. I'm sorry, everybody from France.
Good art, man.
But that's what it is, bro. And I guess. Listen. What am I saying?
Stick to cooking.
Yeah. La petite.
Listen. All I'm saying, is the what they got, the machinery, a lot of it can't even fit that territory, that terrain. Then they said the damn Bradleys, they're a very fickle machine. They have to sit back and cannibalize a bunch of the Bradleys just to keep the other Bradleys running. Because if you don't, they said these things are, if they don't have hubs that can constantly maintenance the trucks, you can't run them. So now they're like, shit, we don't have no hubs. Because Russia's blowing up all the little supply hubs around. So we just got to cannibalize half these things just to keep half running. That's not very efficient.
They weren't prepared for this, bro.
They're not ready for this, bro. All this. Then they said, then they're trying to say, yeah, we're going to run these F-16s. There's only 8 Ukrainians that understand English, bro. Pilots. There's only 8 pilots that understand English. And the other 10 or 15, they got to go learn English classes before they even start flying planes. It's not going to work. You got 8 guys that know English. I read this today. I read it yesterday. Yeah. I'm like, listen,
come on,
only 8 guys know, so they're getting trained. Is 8 enough? 8 pilots are enough? And the other guys, I need to learn English. America is very good to me. Hey, you're in trouble, bro. If this is as far as you can go, bro. You got to read instruction manual. I love football very, very much. Right? This is good. Hey, you're done, bro. You gotta read manuals and flight plans and
Michael Jackson.
It's a start. Come on, man. Listen, this isn't gonna work.
Technical manuals.
Huh?
Technical manuals.
Technical manuals are like damn this huge, bro. This isn't gonna work. On top of the fact that these Russians are 2 years battle hardened with 1 million troops, ready to rock and roll. And when America gets in, you telling me that the people that want to apply for infantry ain't gonna rise up even higher? Bro, this isn't looking good.
And they can get China to back them up when it comes to manufacturing.
It's going to be good because China don't. They can't go fight, bro. China at the best might have a little seat support, but they ain't gonna be infantry out. They're not built that way out. I'm just saying
for manufacturing products. They need for war.
Now don't forget, Russia is already on a 24/7 manufacturing timetable. 24/7, their machine. I mean, their factories are running right now. They're already operating hot.
They're rocking.
Listen, they're running through 60,000 rounds a day. 60,000 rounds a day, and the crazy thing is, Ukraine's on like 6,000 rounds rations and lower. 6,000 round rations a day, and Russia's knocking out 60. That's a significant, and it's weaponry. It's bomb. Every time Esau says yes, Russia is weakening and they're bombed. They're running out of bombs the next day. Boom, 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 boom. 50 bombs are getting hit on Kiev. I'm serious. If you listen to it, they always say they're running out of bombs, they're running low on equipment, and the next day it's crazy strikes on military units.
Even civilian places. They're even hitting civilian apartment buildings now.
I don't know. I personally think what happens is, and I'm only bringing this out because that's a lot of what propaganda likes to bring out. what happened, what they'll say is Russia sat back here and bombed a apartment building. What they don't tell you is, as Russia is sitting back here and sending 40 ballistic missiles to a location of 30 or 20, Ukraine has a very weak I'm trying to get the word, missile defense. This missile defense weaponry. So what happened is, they'll shoot out their anti-missile defense. They'll miss a target and hit an apartment complex. And then they'll say, you know what? Russia did it. And then when they check out the wreckage, they'll see it's like a Ukrainian
Flag.
Issue for Ukrainian materials. They just will hush that up. You got to sit back and watch that on other sites. They'll say, yeah, the Russians are doing this and this. Okay, well, we're bombing locations that have munitions and power grid and infrastructure. They're always banging on infrastructure, power, military supply scenarios. But then in these anti-air missiles come out, they miss. There was an anti-air missile that tried to miss a target and hit a village in Poland.
Are you serious?
And they were like, oh, it was Russian. And maybe they said, no, that was Ukrainian. Look at this. Stop. Then nothing was talked about after that. They do it all the time.
Not even a song.
And they were like, oh, Poland, let's go to war, let's go to war.
I saw
No.
that in the news. I said, oh, it's right. It says that
It's
time.
the end time.
I said that time, baby.
But that was Ukrainian. That was Ukrainian shrapnel. Because they bombed it because it was the wrong coordinates to take out the damn missile that hit Kiev.
Yeah.
That was when Kiev was getting hit hard. So I'm just saying a lot of stuff you get on TV, they're giving a lot of misinformation, bro. They gotta find it and get as much people to go against the other guys as possible. That's just propaganda. It's been going on from the beginning. But I'm just saying, Russia has taken. The reason I'm only saying this is because Russia has purposely not tried to mess with people from Kiev. If they wanted to mess with Kiev people or Ukrainian people, they could have did a lot of
They're trying to win them because they want that.
Because they're like, we're brothers.
Yeah.
They're like, we're brothers, and we're not gonna. You're not gonna bring us into a jacked up situation like this and get them to hate us. That's why all these guys are waving white flags and trying to go over there and defect to get to Russia to get a meal.
Get out of here.
I remember in the winter when it was bad, they were like, man, there's no food. I'm defecting to Russia, bro.
Russian now.
At least I'll get 3 hots in the cot out. That's what they said. That's what they said. Anyway, so there's a lot of media misinformation on how they're doing things. But what they don't tell you is that they keep bombing infrastructure of the Crimeans. They're bombing Crimean bridges. They're sitting back here where Ukraine is bombing Russian cities that are in Ukraine. They're doing all kind of dirty tactics on that end. Mm-hmm. What they also don't tell you is that city Mariupol that went down initially, Russians came in and provided free housing for all the people that was in the war.
Well, you can't promote that, bro.
The Russians got free housing.
No, I'm talking about they can't promote.
Of course they can't.
That doesn't make sense.
That you're never going to see. They show pictures. They have reporters here. This is the housing that the Russians put up for all the people of Mariupol that had to experience all the bombing when they went down there, and all those Azov guys were hitting underground for like a month or two.
Yeah.
So all the bombing, they had to sit back and rebuild the infrastructure.
But this is thanks to the skill and the poise of how Putin functions mentally.
And I'm going to say this. I want to make sure before we go any further, we are not sitting back here and saying that the Russians are the greatest thing ever since sliced bread.
No.
I'm saying this because a lot of times in the news or the Big Brother is listening might say that we're Putin apologists.
No.
Listen, I'm just saying. He's
the devil's
Listen, because after America falls, they will be the nation that Christ comes and destroys. I just want to make sure we are not walking around here saying like Ham in Africa or the Haitians walk around here with these Russian flags on.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening in Haiti and Africa. They walk around here with Putin flags saying that Putin's the savior. He is not the savior. Yahweh Shai is the savior. Make sure we got this, but you got to make sure we're. I'm just bringing it up, not because of what you're doing, because I'm talking a lot of Russians today. We're not here saying that Russia's what's going on, but we're having to make sure we explain that what you're getting on TV is not the real thing. That's all.
Well, all I was saying was, you harp and go into, and we know that they're trying to assassinate certain people, and guess what? After that person, you're gonna get a worse person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least this guy has some type of humanitarian concept.
There's a lot of guys in the cabinet of Russia. Just let's bomb this shit.
Let's just get it. Listen,
Medvedev, his like defense minister, keeps saying every time you put a mic in this guy's face, he says, you know what? The world, there's not going to be a world if Russia's not in it.
he's keeping it.
I'm like, bro, every interview, he's like, you know what? If they want to take Russia out, we'll all go down together. And he's always saying it like in different ways. Like, bro, you really are.
He has a one track process, whereas other guys sitting here little by little.
Because Putin's like, what about the economy?
Yeah.
Putin's like, listen, we gotta eat, bro.
They have money.
Listen, so I can't just be this killer. I gotta make sure I'm doing business with Africans in China and India.
It's like the mafia.
I gotta be cool with Modi and Xi Jinping.
It's like the mafia. You have certain guys that sit here, they want to have structure and strategic business and connections.
And you got Paulie from the Bronx that wants to just
cut hands off
his hoagies
and shoot them up, shoot up houses. Got the whole block lit up. Come on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
It still has to conduct business.
And that's the truth. I couldn't have said it better myself. So where we're at in Jeremiah, it's Jeremiah. The Most High is talking to Jeremiah to tell the king, listen, treat your people better, or he's going to move us all out of the country and be slaves and be in an uninhabited land. Or in Jerusalem will be uninhabited. We know.
Verse 8. And many nations shall pass by the city, and they shall say, every man to his neighbor, wherefore hath the Most High done this unto this great city? Then they shall answer, because they have forsaken the covenant of the Most High their power, and worshipped other gods.
And that's a strong statement. That's a strong statement. Brothers talking about legacy earlier, and why do legacies collapse and fall? It's because the same generation, the next generation, doesn't have the same piety, the same reverence. Let me read.
Yeah.
And serve them. Weep ye not for the dead, neither bemoan him, but weep sore for him that goeth away. For he shall return no more, nor see his native country. For thus saith the Most High, touching Shallum, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, which reigned instead of Josiah his father, which went forth out of this place. He shall not return thither any more.
So this is the prophecy that talks about Shalom, which was Jehoash, the first king. He said, read verse 10 again.
God of 10. Weep ye not for the dead, neither bemoan him, but weep sore for him that goeth away.
Weep sore for him that goes away, that gets sent in exile. Read on.
For he shall return no more, nor see his native country.
Okay, so he's saying this is the prophecy of this guy. Now I'm not saying 100% sure that this Jeremiah 22 is dealing with a prophecy that was in that 3-month time that Shalom was in power, but it could be. Okay, he said, weep not for the dead, but weep for the person who gets sent out of his native country and is exiled forever. Read on.
For thus saith Yahweh, touching Shallum, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, which reigned instead of Josiah, which went forth out of this place. He shall not return thither any more.
So this could be when Jehoiakim just gets into power, right as this political shift is happening. But the prophecy from Jeremiah is saying that, listen, man, Shalom's never coming back. After this 3-month situation, he's gone for good. So this is obviously in between that time where there's an influx of power. Maybe Shalom got locked up in Haran or Ribnah, and before he gets sent to Egypt, it's got to be in this timetable, in this time line. Okay, but he says this guy's never coming back. He says Shalom ain't never come back. He's gone. This guy's gonna be in a clinker in Egypt forever. But I'll also bring out a point that this is in Jeremiah chapter 22. This is why it's hard as you're going through Jeremiah. You can't read Jeremiah in a chronological order. We read in Jeremiah 2 about the prophecy of Egypt taking out the crown of Israel. Now we're in 22 talking about Shalom. There's a lot of stuff in between these two chapters, and then they're always shifting with different kings and different leaders at the time. I want to make sure we understand that when we're in Jeremiah, that it's not in sequential order. And don't forget, a lot of times Baruch wrote down a lot of these, a lot of what Jeremiah wanted, and Baruch helped put this thing together. So it was kind of spotty with his chronological order. Just keep that in mind. Because then we go on in 22, 40, 50, then back to 17. It's going to be a lot of that as we
Is
go
it
on.
written based on just impact of events?
It has to be because it's not chronological. It's not chronological at all. So as we keep going over these topics week to week to week, you're going to realize that it jumps a lot. I just want to make sure we was in chapter 2. Now we're in 22. But 22 talks about Shalom never coming back to Israel. But he's still saying there was a real issue, whether it was from Shalom. It had to be from Shalom's time. I know it was in Jehoiakim's time that the people weren't being taken care of. That's the one constant theme. Okay? Read verse 12 again.
But he shall die in the place whither they had led him captive, and shall see this land no more.
And this is why they said Jeremiah was a weeping prophet, because he was like, weep for Shalom, weep for this, he wept for Josiah. Because this is a period of mourning. It wasn't he was just some crying ass dude. There's a period of time of a lot of loss and sadness and the breaking down and collapsing of our society. Okay.
He had a valid reason to cry.
To be down. And he was pleading with people to change, and they just want to do it. Now we're going to do 2 Kings 23 and 34. Second Kings 23 and 34.
34. And Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in the room of Josiah his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim, and took Jehoaz away, and he came to Egypt and died there.
So him dying there was kind of like the fulfillment of the prophecy that was talked about in Jeremiah 22. Jeremiah said he's never going to come back. He's going to die in Egypt. We for the guy that's in exile that has to die in a foreign country.
He was equivalent to a political prisoner.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, he was a political prisoner, but he was the leverage that Egypt needed to make sure payments kept being made and making sure Israel stayed that vassal to Egypt.
Keep them taxes going.
And keep that bread coming. Keep this guy in there. Keep him in tow until as long as the money keeps going. You keep him healthy, but he's a prisoner. You can't go nowhere.
That makes sense.
So that's what's happening. Now we let that go. And we go to 2 Chronicles 36. Verse 5.
2 Chronicles 36 and 5.
Let me get it to you.
That's what I asked the class real quick. What are y'all seeing so far? What are y'all understanding so far based on this lesson?
Don't sin, right? You better not sin.
Don't touch that cake. Don't drop that cake. What y'all seeing, I guess, history-wise? That's standing out. Something that stands out. I'm not saying the whole lesson.
One thing that stands out is train my sons up in a righteous manner. That there's an example to be set. I have to set that example.
Yes, sir.
And I have to set that example for my family. And I think earlier in the class I wasn't here because that word example was being used, and it just hit me. Like, you know what?
Yes, sir.
There's an example to be set.
Yes, sir. Stop.
Yeah, I'm just seeing how the Most High deals with us as a nation and individually. How the Most High constantly puts a balance to everything and how He works with everybody. But overall, He works with us as a nation, how we consider each other as a body. And then we're seeing the examples of those that sacrifice for the body.
Yes, sir.
And things are bigger than just themselves.
Yes,
Those that are just about themselves. And that's what they're curious about. My come up, my well-being, and not understanding that our well-being is as a nation. We come up as a nation, we fall as a nation.
That's facts. Mr. Adam?
That Israel had ups and downs
And they have righteous kings that try to lay a solid foundation of righteousness, which their forefathers did in the past. And then, it only took like one bad king afterwards to ruin much good. So you have one king that spent his entire life trying to rid Jerusalem of idols and idolatry and unrighteousness, and it just took one king to come after him. Everything that his forefather had done.
Yes, sir. Anybody else?
Okay.
No, it is how the Most High is in the midst of regime change, and I guess sometimes you can kind of lose sight, focus on so much. Just showing how the Most High goes about ensuring that justice is served, and sometimes it doesn't matter just because you are a good example, but there's still payment for your past sins, and no matter how of a strong example you may set, there's still judgment, but the Most High is still equitable because that period or that offense is not erased. There still has to be a payment for it. So, and then how the Most High goes about, I guess, transacting that payment, it's pretty crazy. Because you can get caught up in all these names and history names, but still the Most High is in the midst of all these little decisions that are being made.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing to me that, one aspect, you have the Most High's control in this good way that we love to feel, and then you have the Most High's control in another way that we kind of lose sight of and want to put it on a person or a king or a supreme leader. But, that person is also a vassal for the Most High's, or a vessel for the Most High's judgment.
Okay, so let's continue. Yes, let's go. Now we're going to start going in Jehoiakim, and we're going to see how even Jeremiah 12 is really talking about Jehoiakim and his reign, early in his reign, to set the tone about what happens to Israel. Because if you think about it, Shalom wasn't even in power enough to really show his imprint on the people, but Jehoiakim sure in the hell does. We're going to read about him in a little bit. Let's read that, sir, in 2 Chronicles.
Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign.
Read verse 4 again, just for clarification's sake.
And the king of Egypt made Eliakim, his brother, king over Judah and Jerusalem, and turned his name to Jehoiakim. And Necho took Jehoaz, his brother, and carried him to Egypt. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Most High, his power.
Now, verse 6 talks about what Nebuchadnezzar does in response to the Jews when Jehoiakim was in power. But there was a lot of things happened really in life between verse 5 and verse 6. We have to talk about all these things that happened leading up to Nebuchadnezzar coming in here and breaking his tail and breaking his will. Let's go to Jeremiah again, chapter 22. Verse 13 through 23. And we just read earlier about Shalom and the prophecy about Shalom dying. We read that. Now we're in Jeremiah 22 again, and we're dealing with that transition from Shalom to Jehoiakim. Kim with the M. Jehoiakim. Now let's get verse 13 through 23, and so what we're kind of getting a feel of is from verse 1 down.